7,000 register for that. And I was having nightmares leading up to that because all the pressure was on me, obviously. And, Andy would be pissed if I didn't do it. And I had nightmares of coming into this huge room in the XL, 1,000 seats laid out, and there was 3 people at the front. And I'd walk in and Andy's about to go on stage and I'm like, fucking hell, no one's here. And we've spent tens of thousands on this thing, probably hundreds of thousands in some cases. But for this one, it's not that, because everyone's paying for a ticket. It's not the same problem for these types of events. I know people are going to come, but I was having nightmares that the stage, that was it. I walked in the room and there was no stage. Because
this is in your nightmare.
This is my nightmare, because the AV guys haven't yet, still haven't sent me the invoice. No, they have now, but at the time when I had the nightmare, they hadn't. So technically, I hadn't paid for the AV. So I was walking in, and there was no stage, which meant there was no speakers, there was no screens, but the audience were there.
I've been having that nightmare this week as well.
So yeah, it is a stressful time, but it's only because I'm just so emotionally invested in it that I want it to be so good. So but it's a good thing, I think. Keeps me on my toes massively, because it makes me sort of remember all the fine little details, all the things that we've done to make it just that little bit better.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that came up in the sorts of the suggestions for other conversations or other debates was sort of the challenges of being emotionally invested. But in that instance there, I think being emotionally invested in what, like EMC, for example, I think that's a good thing. Obviously, it's going to be give you a horrible fortnight, but then, for 3 days, it's going to be epic. There's going to be 350, 400, 500 people there, however many it is, all getting mega content for 3 days. It's going to be... It'll be worth the pressure,
for sure. I mean, I'm massively guilty of this with our clients as well. With our agency clients, I get way too emotionally invested in their stuff. And again, I think it comes from running a company for Andy, where I was in charge of everything, charge of the money. So I was so invested in that company that it was like it was my money. So I wasn't just spending money willy-nilly, and I wouldn't do that with my clients neither. So I'm always, if something doesn't go right or they don't get a return, I take it really personally, and I'm like, fuck, I've messed up here. We need to fix this. But I think that's a good thing in some cases.
And in the UK, you're probably one of the sort of considered to be one of the leading experts in this space. Yeah, I've never, and this is very, very rare, someone who's like an expert or got an agency. You very, very rarely will mention someone, and every single person you mention them to go, oh, I love Matt. He's fantastic. Well, they do Einstein's amazing. Like even other marketers. Yeah. Like Aaron Branch.
Do you know Aaron? Yeah. I've never met Aaron. Never met
really nice guy. Really nice guy. He's like, oh, he's fantastic. Every other marketer is like, oh, what Matty does is brilliant. So do you think that actually being emotionally invested, and we're talking sort of about emotional intelligence, do you think being emotionally invested, whilst it might add stress, quote unquote, stress to your sort of day-to-day life, do you think it's part of the reason why you've got such a successful agency? Because you actually care more than...
Yeah, it definitely makes us better. I don't. There's no way that I'd be able to do it at scale without topping myself, but at any more scale,
strong,
or just bring someone else in to be as emotionally invested as I am, because I wouldn't be able to deal with many more clients that I'm this emotionally invested in.
So is the next person? Would the next hire then for you be someone like an operations manager?
Well, it is. That was my last hire. Yes, I've taken him on now. COO. Yeah, I took him on 3 months ago. His name's Adam. He's brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, he come down to EMC, so he's my head of operations.
Oh, okay,
yeah. And
so has that allowed? So now you've got that gap between you and the client. Has that taken away?
I'm still with the clients that I was, and my bigger clients that have been with us for years.
Yeah, kind of got to that, haven't you?
Yeah, the Rob Moores and the Greg Seckers and these guys that we do it. Andy Harringtons and those guys. Just because I've got such a good relationship with them, to put him in that place now would be a bit unfair, but. Yeah.
Right. Let's chuck it out to the audience then. Mods and speakers, Popcorn Starley, give us a flash of the mic. Is being emotionally invested in your business, is it a good thing? Oh, she's only back, everybody.
Yeah, I'll see
she's
that.
She's back. Hang on, Ev. Can we get a jingle here? Can we get a jingle? What jingles have we got on? No, we don't on that one. Right. Okay, we're ready. Ladies and gentlemen, she was big in the game a few months ago, and then she deserted us, didn't she? She deserted us for a little while, and it hurt. And but we got over it eventually. I don't think we're fully over it, as you can tell. But We're going to get there. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the multi-millionaire property investor, public speaker, communication coach, trainer, mentor, helping others to generate an income through property and public speaking. 2 times Guinness World Record holder, podcast host, mum, wife, and all the way from Liverpool. That's not a Liverpool accent, is it? Tony Gargan's back, everybody. Gargan. I got so excited. Well, she can't tell me off. She ain't been here. Tony's here, everybody. How are you, Tony?
I am extremely well after that amazing introduction. Honestly, I've missed being back, and because I'm so emotionally intelligent, I've basically been the laziest person in the world. But it's amazing to be back. I'm dipping in and out, but I needed to jump this morning to say, well, firstly, amazing as always. Secondly, Matt, I was the person the other end of the phone taking those orders for Tony Robbins infomercials.
No way. You wouldn't have heard from me then because I went to eBay. Sorry.
The irony being, I was the person taking the orders, doing the upsells, and my upsells were great. But when we got given the opportunity, I worked in the call centre, as well as selling Tony Robbins audios and all the rest of it. We sold like makeup, and I done all of the UK infomercials for US giants, basically.
Oh,
and
really?
I knew zero about Tony Robbins. So when it came to Christmas and we got bonuses and we got gifts, it was like, what would you like? And all the smart people took Tony Robbins, everything, the whole packs worth thousands. And I was like, I'll take the Victoria Jackson makeup, please. Imagine where my life would be if I knew about Tony Robbins at 16 instead of finding him at like 28, 29.
Yeah.
It shows that I was very unintelligent at that point in time. Some would argue I still am. But yeah, I had to jump in and say that if you had phoned up, it would have been me trying to upsell you into the higher ticket prices.
Lucky you and eBay.
I would have loved it. We're not mute, are we?
No, we are.
I would have loved it. I'd love to sit down with you, Tony, and just talk about, definitely not here because we'll go off on a massive tangent, but I want to talk to you about the infomercial offers. I'm an infomercial addict. I love it. It's my guilty pleasure. I stay up late, watch infomercials, and I buy so much crap. You would not believe it because I just want to go through their funnels. I love the offers.
What, still now?
Still now.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
it was only the other day.
How many mattresses have you bought?
It was probably, I think the last thing that turned up was about 3 weeks ago, and it was this huge, like, I can't remember the name of it now. I just got completely sold on it. It was like, it's this massive, like, Wonder Broom type thing.
Oh,
but it's also like it dusts.
Oh, you can angle it and stuff.
Oh, mate, it dusts the tops, but it also is a mop, so it cleans the floor.
You look like you've right bought into this. Talk about emotionally invested.
But it's what I just love because the offers on infomercials are just always so good. Like there's an art form. I met a guy called Kevin Harrington. Is it Kevin Harrington?
Yeah.
Kevin Harrington.
Do you know James Lavers, Matt? James Lavers.
I do know. Well, I've met James Lavers through Andy Harrington when I was working for Andy's. Like when I first started working for him. Yeah. He used to write.
James used to do the scripts for QVC, and he coached Tony Robbins at QVC. He had an 8-minute coaching session with Tony Robbins when he come around because he wasn't selling. Saying what's it called? When they have a certain words, they can see how many people are picking up the phone, and it wasn't happening. So they called James in. He had an 8-minute session with Tony Robbins, and the next time he like trebled his sales.
Really?
So James Lavers is the guy,
mate. They're just some of the best offers you'll ever see, you know. So I just watch it, and then I try to go through the funnels to see what they're actually selling off the back of it, you know, on the phones.
Are
and
these
stuff.
brooms and that actually as good as?
I've never used anything I bought, mate. I don't know. It's just all in my garage or chucked out now. You know, I don't use them. I just I get sold on them, and then I buy them.
Careful, let me
so, yeah, Tony, thanks. Me and you'll have to have a separate chat about all the offers that you know about.
Tony, where have you been? We've been worried sick about you here. Every day we've been saying this. Do you know where's Tony at? And we just said, we think she's lazy. She's having the summer off. Did you just have a summer off? Did you?
I had the laziest summer ever.
Oh, why not?
It's the emotional thing for me. I am emotionally invested in everything I do. So bringing it back to today's content, that's why I stopped mentoring people one-on-one in property. I mean, the day that I'd take like 6 clients as a maximum. I would mentor them one-on-one, but I was so emotionally invested because my rule was their results are a direct result of my mentorship.
Yeah.
But I was too invested, so much so that I had a client who was, I can't even remember where he was based now. He was based in Yorkshire, And I drove to Yorkshire and took him round all of the estate agents because he was struggling to get deals and he had a confidence issue. And I walked in and I was like, we are not leaving until we buy you some deals. And we went round every estate agent, and it was like, I invested so much of my time and energy into it that I was like, I can't do this on a regular basis for 6 people every single month. And so that was the kind of turning point for me to say, I'll do group training sessions. I've got to put some barriers in there because I have this little fat child inside of me who desperately cares that people like me. So that's kind of my emotional intelligence has had to grow in that respect. Where I've been, I took a big break off because I made the decision. Well, I had a thought process around like, why am I doing what I'm doing? I've worked really hard to get to where I am. So I made a conscious decision, and for 8 weeks, I have done nothing but have fun with my kids and play games. So yeah, I'm dipping back in. I'm getting back into events. I'm running events all the time now, and I'm getting back into work. But yeah, basically lazy bitch for the last 8 weeks.
Good luck with the events, Tony. I feel your pain.
I have a sneaky suspicion that years ago Tony was able to kick off as well.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon she still could.
Yeah, I reckon she's still
Push come to shove, I reckon she could still have it if she needs to.
Paul, your story before, I was like, yep. I genuinely used to lock the doors. I'd make a rule at the start. I would tell them this is what's going to happen. You're all going to be lazy. You're all going to take things at your own pace, and then you're going to have to work at my pace in the week up to the deadline, and everyone would kind of go, yeah, okay then. And I could turn from angel to devil within seconds, and it was like, oh shit, she's on the warpath. But I was exactly the same. The rule was, our reputation is on the line. My reputation is on the line. So you were going to stay until it's done. You will bring your lunch in. You will eat at your desk. And if you don't eat fast enough, we'll take it away from you. I've moved on since then.
So, everyone else in the studio is just sort of looking at each other, open mouth. Apart from Ash, she's going, yeah, I like it. Lovely.
We need to chat, Tony.
Do you think then, Tony, talk about emotional intelligence, do you think it's that sort of like, I hate to use the term inner work, but you know, that sort of like inner insight, do you think that you've sort of, as you've grown and developed as a person and as a person who's building brands and as a coach and a mentor and an expert, etc., do you think that got you to, you know, what gets you to here won't get you to there? And is it that sort of mentality you're like, right, I can't operate in that same way to get to the next place I'm aspiring to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely the inner work, but it was also kind of understanding that you can get results one way or another. And the irony being, I was a HR manager, so I was the people person. But people, when I got that way, and when I got really kind of focused on results and results only rather than the process, I found that actually people would do what needed to be done because they had to and not because they wanted to. And I saw a change in me to the point where I'd come home and I'm like, my kids are getting the worst of me because basically I've been beast Tony today and I've been angry, and then I come home and I had to make a conscious decision to like change my mood. And I thought, this is stressing me out, it's causing me all sorts of anxiety, and I spent a lot of time sitting down working on me and also the process on how do I get people to want to care as much as I do, because my biggest challenge even now in everything that I do, particularly in property, is no one is ever going to care as much as you do about your business, your results. So therefore, you've got to get them invested in it in some way. So I started working with incentives. I started looking at motives, and it depended on the general manager that I worked alongside. I always felt I had to be the opposite to them. And actually, my best progress was when I worked with a general manager who was an arse, because I had to counterbalance that. And that's when I became they started telling me I became pink and fluffy. But it wasn't that I was pink and fluffy. I was like, how do I get people to care as much as I do about reducing absenteeism or increasing productivity? So I really focused on incentivizing. I really focused on finding out what people wanted, how they'd be more satisfied within their job. And then it's the same as everything we talk about now, isn't it? You get your results and people getting their results along the way. So it became more about motivation. It became more about rewards, more about celebrating the wins. And so it was a very slow process. It was through my whole career as a HR manager. So it probably took a good 5-6 years towards the end of my career, but it definitely set me up well in business to then realize that you can't run you can be successful, but you're never going to be happy if you're constantly stressed and stressing out other people, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm glad she's back, everybody. She's back. Let's give her a round of applause. Tony's back, everybody. This is why we love Tony. Wisdom, insight, a few swears, big dose of reality. I'm all about that.
I'll eat lunch at your desk.
Good, yeah. Bring your lunch. You're going to be eating at your desk. That sounds savage, doesn't it?
I used to do that. I like that idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Of course, you like that.
When did times change? Because when I used to like work and things like that, that was quite a normal thing.
Oh yeah, but that was the industry we were
Yeah,
in,
that's-
mate.
yeah,
different.
that's-
Yeah, that was. But then again,
No, I think it goes down to the character as well. I think if you take ownership for your work, no matter what your role or what level you're at in a business, if you take ownership for your work, you would do stuff like that. I think if you was up against deadlines, you'd sit at your desk and eat lunch.
You
would.
had to.
I'm in
you
my
had-
breakfast now, so committed to this.
And the
show,
thing
by the
is,
way.
in the city, it was like if you didn't, don't come back tomorrow.
Frowned upon, yeah.
Yeah, don't come back tomorrow. Don't come back tomorrow. If you haven't hit your target, like you.
Some of the stories that you two have said about the sales world, I'm like, nah, really? Because I've done sales, but I haven't done like that kind of sales.
We're making it look pretty as well.
yeah.
But do you reckon, does it still exist in this day and age? Can it still exist in the way that?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't think it can
So
exist.
it's about 10 years ago now. I was there.
What did you say to us in the car on the way to Brighton? You said something like, you
No, I
would
was
not
doing
hang up
Jordan
the phone.
Bell.
They would not hang up the phone. You'd be told not to hang up the phone.
No, he
so they
couldn't
can't-
hang up.
You,
No.
you weren't allowed to hang up the phone. You wasn't allowed to hang
What
up.
did you say? You was told by your like mental
No,
health,
no,
by your-
no,
yeah.
by
Yeah,
your
but I
diet,
don't. Yeah, that's and
brilliant.
Yeah, buy or die.
Well, that was just standard, yeah.
It's a standard.
yeah, but they didn't mean that it was a dead lead. That's what they mean, like dead.
I'll get that, obviously. Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah. But yeah, it was very, very. But the thing is, you see today's age, and it seems so much like
There definitely
fluffy.
are still firms like sales firms that are like that, I think.
Oh,
but-
yeah,
but-
100%, but just delivered a bit more nicer.
Yeah.
But,
But they'll never last though, because like Tony was saying, I believe the only way to get the best out of people is to have them want to be there. And there's no way to get people to want to be there.
money doesn't become a thing in the end.
by doing that stuff, you know. It's a little bit more of a slow and painful process. Like you've got to give a little bit more, but the end result is a lot better. Like Paul mentioned about holidays and stuff like that. I don't have set holidays for my team, and what I found
Paul
was
just shuddered. Paul just shuddered in the corner there.
but what I found was this is really interesting though, and I know now because it's the same for my company, and also when I did it for Andy. So when I took over Andy's company, I did the same thing, and people took less holidays.
Yeah.
It was mad. So
Yeah.
basically, what would happen? This was always what happened. I can't remember how many days it was now because I haven't given the set amount in a long while. But I think it was like 22. Is that standard or is it 24 or so?
It's 28 including bank holidays.
28. And then what would happen is
Ash knows.
come to sort of September, they'd have loads to take, and then they'd quickly rush them in, you know, and they'd just take them all.
Pointless.
Yeah, they'd just take them all because they weren't allowed to roll them over. They weren't allowed to do all of this stuff. And then one year I just said, look, you know, we're not doing that now. Look, you can, if you want a day off this week, you want to go on holiday next week, whatever, that's fine. But you've got to do it as long as your work's done. I don't care. I also don't care if you like for Andy's team and my team, if you do your work for the day, if you want to leave early, I don't care as long as the job is done. As long as the job is done.
Yeah.
And it was just really strange. People then just stopped because they stopped counting their holidays. They stopped taking them. It was really strange because they did.
You know that have said, "Oh, what are you doing? I've got a week off because I've got to take it."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got to take it. Yeah.
I've got to take
it's really weird. Because they stopped counting. There's no number. So every single time now that I've done it anyway. Now I'm sure there will be the people that take the piss of it, but so far, fairly small teams, both of the companies that I've run. But
yeah, that's the thing. I suppose in a
If you did it in
Google
like a huge place,
where you can hide. Like I've got a mate who works in corporate for one of the big banks, and if you said to that geezer, take as much holiday as you want, I don't think you'd ever show
I
up.
think this is where it comes down to personality tests and doing all the stuff that we speak about, values and employing the right people and all of that stuff. Because if you do form the right workforce, you can get people that will own their work, take ownership for what they do, and they'll work equally at home as well as they do in an office.
Yeah.
But then there's a whole group of people that are just have a job to get paid at the end of the month, and that's it, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
And you need those people.
Yeah, and then therefore they're not gonna, they are the ones that are gonna do the fag breaks, and they're gonna go for lunch and take 10 minutes longer.
Ash looks so guilty if you
do all
tell
of
you
that,
which a
do all
fag
of that
break.
sort of stuff, aren't they? That is just the do minimum requirement to be paid at the end of the month. That's it. There are people out there like that.
like that, yeah.
And I agree with what like you said, like things have changed now. Like it is, if you give the expectations and make sure their work is done, you'll be surprised because some people want to get their job done so they can get home earlier. And I think times have changed, especially with the pandemic. Like I know some people that worked in the city that are now permanently working from home.
Yeah,
working from home.
I think people's tolerance to being treated like shit's just massively reduced over the years.
Mental health. Mental health. 10 years ago, you never heard the word.
Never heard that. No.
The only time you'd hear the word mental health is if you drove past
a hospital,
a special hospital that said mental health hospital or mental health unit on it. That was it, wasn't it? You never heard it spoken about, especially so freely and openly. So that's what's changed. We're aware now of the impact that stuff has. Like in your sales organization, some of the stuff you've told us of what people used to do to staff, and I was probably guilty of that in the early days of some of that stuff as well. But it was normal. That had an effect on people. It had an effect on people.
100%.
It was normal back in the day. Like it was.
It's part of the culture, isn't it?
It's part of the culture. You know what you see what you're walking into. You get told what you're walking into.
Your favorite word, consideration. You need to consider it now.
Yeah, but when I look back, I just think like if you was not thick-skinned,
but it attracts that sort of person because you two talk about it. And maybe now that you're out of it, and that maybe you're now reformed characters or better human beings. But when you talk about the old days, there's almost like a level of we've got a hot mic. If someone could just double check their microphone, please. I think your phone's in your pocket. And Holly, it's you. I don't want to name and shame, but I'm going to have to. Holly, behave yourself. You have to get chucked back in the audience ocean.
But this goes through most sales companies. Like, so this will go back to like.
But were you attracted to it? Was it something that you didn't just put up with it, but you actually liked it? Because every time you talk about the good old days and the ridiculous stuff, you smirk like it's.
Weirdly. Do you know what? I left school early, didn't really listen, and then it was like,
no, really?
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. Oh, actually, no, I could see that maybe a bit.
And when I was getting sort of ruthlessly told what to do, and there was an outcome, which it was like, oh, okay, maybe I should have listened. Like, and it was like,
like a discipline you actually needed because you'd chosen it, sort of thing. You're like, hang on a second. Because at school, you didn't choose the discipline. Like your parents don't choose the discipline, but in that environment, when you go for like your first job or whatever, if someone's rinsing you, you're like, well, actually, I chose to put myself in this situation.
But the door was always open. Like it was like the biggest takeaway ever. Like the door's there.
I just think society has changed massively in 10 years. Society in a decade, 100%. Society has changed massively. Just look at sport. Like look at football teams. What used to get a football team to perform and be emotionally invested in their performance and perform was Sir Alex Ferguson shouting at them, like really grilling them in the changing room. Managers don't do that now. You can't do that. You have to be aware of their emotions and the way that they're. It's a different world now. It's a different world compared to like all of the stories that we're telling.
Isn't it mad though? Like you say, it's a different world now in 10 years. Like how fast the evolution of. It sounds a bit grandiose, but how fast the evolution of our thinking is now. If you, like, my dad's not been here for 10 years, and if I'd have said to him, "Should we ever talk about emotional intelligence?" He'd be like, "What?" And he was not like a geezer at all. He was, he's quite a soft and open guy. But if I'd have sat down with my dad and said, "How are you feeling?" He'd have been like, "I'm all right. How are you feeling? What are you up to? What are you doing? Come on, let's talk about being emotionally intelligent." He'd be like, "Nah, whatever." But I like it. I think it's good. I think it's good evolution.
Anyway, we'll move on to other people. Good news is BA Flight 106 has landed on time.
Hey!
And guess who's on BA Flight 106? Everybody from Dubai to London.
Who?
Mr. Spencer Lodge.
Spencer is flying tonight on a plane.
Couldn't even write it.
What's he put?
Oh, you're joking.
Couldn't even write
it. Spencer Lodge was coming, but now he's not. Is he having trouble getting out of the airport?
Oh,
my phone slid under the seat.
Oh, this sounds like excuses.
Anyway, that shouldn't be read out on air. Spencer Lodge was coming to the studio directly from Heathrow Airport because guess what? He's flying into London for EMC, which is next weekend.
Yeah, baby.
So he was going to come to the studio. We're not sure if he is. He might not be.
But knowing Spencer will say he's not, and then he'll just turn up.
Oh, is he? He's one of them guys.
He does do
like a legend.
Right.
He did ask for the address.
Oh, did he?
So there we go. We might have Spencer Lodge joining us in a while. We'll see.
And we might not. Right. So I guess we better brings other people in the conversation then, because our main guest, who was going to fill the time, was not now going to fill the time.
We'll have a quick reset, shall we?
Yeah, should we have a little reset? Why not?
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
We've just heard the best excuse that I think I've heard in a long while for why somebody. We won't share it. We'll let him share it at some point.
He said he'd pop in a bit. He said he'd pop on.
That is brilliant.
Anyway, brilliant. Spencer can pop on and tell us his excuse for why he's not coming to the studio in a while.
If that's true, though, that is the best excuse of all
That
time.
is brilliant. First world problems.
Yeah, isn't it just?
Definitely first world problems.
Right. So this morning we're talking about mindset and emotional intelligence. Now, one of the things that we talked about is sort of like the evolution of people within business, and the fact that, you know, as you grow and you go through certain situations, you become more emotionally intelligent. Mostly intelligent, not emotionally intelligence. Do we think it's an essential element of a leader then these days? Do you think you need to be emotionally intelligent?
I think so, yeah.
Ash says yes. What say you, Paul Applecrumble?
Yeah. Yes.
That's 2 votes for yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. 3 out of 3.
I
They've
used to
done this.
generally have the attitude that somebody was lucky to have a job. Like they were privileged to work for me and for me to pay them on a monthly basis. That used to be my.
You still got that ethos.
No, I haven't. Now I feel.
You have with me now.
Now I feel privileged that I get to spend time with you. It's a
come
it's a blessing to me.
Can you play a tune to that?
That is that you know that was that, and there's probably still a lot of people out there like that. They get to like Friday when they pay their people weekly or whatever it is, or monthly or whenever they do it, and in certain industries, in certain sectors, and tell their staff you're lucky to have a job, mate.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of conversation. That was that completely wrong attitude. I'm not like that now. But
Wow, interesting. Right, Monster Speakers, Popcorn Starley. Let's bring some people into the conversation. Sounds like he's down the M4, down the corridor. Let's bring Beiju in for a little bit more. That's my Beiju rhyme done for today.
Good morning, guys. Great conversation. You asked a question earlier about, is it good to be emotionally invested? It is when you understand context. And it's like I talk about, I've got a bin truck coming down. Bloody hell. Hang on. I've got to move. Hang on. We got, hang on. It's passing. Shit, sorry.
Should we go to, let's just enjoy this moment.
Yeah. So,
Beiju's bins.
Yeah. To be emotionally invested, yeah, it is, as long as you understand that. I talk about not being attached to the outcome. So Matt, right, he's emotionally invested. We want him to be, because if he doesn't care, we're not going to have a great experience. However, this is the thing, is when things go well, celebrate it. When things don't go well, he's got to use his almost says, right, okay, I need to detach from this and just get into my logical brain to solve the situation. And that's where the awareness comes in. It's like we want Matt to be invested in the MC because we know it's going to be a great event. Things go well, absolutely celebrate to the ill, pat yourselves on the back. When things don't go well, is in that moment, right, okay, I need to have some logic here, step back from the situation, analyze what's going on, what needs to be done. And where a lot of people fail is that when they're emotionally invested, they can't draw that line between the outcome, whether it's good or bad. When you think about emotional intelligence, you look at there's four things: self-awareness, how aware you are of your emotions; self-manage, how well you're managing when you're aware of your emotions, how good are you at managing your emotions; social awareness, understanding where other people are at, and how you manage those relationships. That's essentially what emotional intelligence is. And when you've got those four things together, you start to understand that, okay, you can get great things. There's a great book called The Corporate Mystic. You talk about should leaders be emotionally intelligent. Even those way back when, the so-called, think about Steve Jobs, he was emotionally intelligent, but he didn't care in terms of how he came across, if you believe the film, right? If you believe the biopic. But he was emotionally intelligent because you can't get a certain amount of juice out of people. Like Paul might have said in jest, but he must have been an element of aware where people are at, but the ultimate goal was getting the result. So he said, right, let's forego your emotional awareness for this moment because we've got a deadline to meet. But yes, that's my thoughts. Great conversation. But Matt, you must know James Lavers, don't you?
Yeah, mate, I do know him. Yeah, I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen or spoke to him in probably 6-7 years. But when I first started working for Andy, so when I first started working for Andy Harrington as a marketing manager, he was one of the first guys we met because Andy was coaching him. So Andy was coaching him to do like on stage presentations. To sell his stuff. But mate, you've just hit the nail on the head there, because one of the first things I said when we started this room, how do you define emotional intelligence? Because loads of people have they talk about it, but they've got no idea what they're talking about. And my explanation of it is exactly what you just said there. It's a mixture of self-awareness, but also empathy for others' emotions as well. So it's self-awareness to know where you are and how to manage yours, but then empathy to understand where other people are and what they're going through. So
and it's fluid as well. So it's not like it's fluid. So you, at every given moment, depending on what's going on, is the person's fluid in that situation to understand is sort of highly emotionally intelligent. I think the reason I mentioned James Davis, he's on Clubhouse, but not that often. But he'd be a great guy to get in, the guys, because he's the sort of the brains behind a lot of Andy Harrington's presentations, Dan Bradbury, all those guys, Rob Moore, and they bring him in. But he's got the accolade of coaching Tony Robbins, where he trebled or 4 times the amount he sold because of James's interventions of understanding, eye contact on video and intonations and little words and things. It's fantastic. But great. Yeah, nice one. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate. You.
Awesome stuff. We should get that guy. What's he called? James
Davis. He's known as the lazy coach.
The lazy coach. I'll make an intro. He's on Clubhouse, but not that often.
Okay, we'll get him on. We will get him on. Right, Mods and Speakers Popcorn Daily. Oh, Susan, I hope she was going to say, come up and say something. She's the intergalactical queen of the mother flipping universe. That's the wrong theme tune for Hang On. Oh, my goodness. No, we don't want that. Hang on.
Just go for a more.
Sorry about this. I've ruined Susan's introduction. Susan's here, everybody. The intergalactical mother flipping queen of the universe. What have you got? What have you got for us this morning? I can't stop this thing from laughing. What is this sound effect doing? Right, I think it's finished. Go on, Susan. Over to you.
That was crazy, but I loved it. Oh my goodness, James, that's the best intro ever. Yeah, I'm here for this conversation. I love it. You know what, talking about years ago, I used to work in a call center and I used to do deliver training programs. Believe it or not, I was only 20 years old. I was so young, but I had the most amazing manager in the world. Her name was Mary Campbell. I need to try and see where she is now. She was so eccentric. And she gave me 2 books, The Celestine Prophecy, which was really spiritual, which I kind of started on, and then Tony Robbins, but it was, I don't know if anyone remembers, Awaken the Giant Within.
Oh, that's the original one, wasn't it?
The ultimate, right? So before Unleash the Power, he awakened, is that a word? The giant within. So she would give me these books and tell me to go and sit in the boardroom, and she'd give me creative time. Maybe I need to thank her for the person I am today, but that's what she would do. And she would be like, it's so important that you go and read these books and understand them. So I fell in love with Tony Robbins 20 years ago, then forgot him for a good 10 years of my life. And then obviously maybe 3 years ago, kind of went back to a few of his stuff. But for me, honestly, when you was talking about the shopping channels as well, I was like, that's crazy, because that's almost like the definition of emotional intelligence, because almost all buying decisions are emotional, aren't they? They're not logical. So we act by emotion. So these shopping channels trigger us to want to buy immediately. Hence, you pick up the phone, you see all the numbers coming up. So the best marketers in the world, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, let's include Matty Wilson, because he's right next to me and he's live in the studio. But like Matt said, the empathy and the self-aware, right? I'm going to put you in the same category, Matt, because you understand that now the best marketing people, they steer away from the traditional old school fuddy-duddy, marketing ways, and they understand that it's the emotions of their consumer that is going to trigger them to buy. So they go through the emotions before they market to them, and then they become the solution and the answer to their needs in how they market. So then it's almost like you can't help but not want to buy from that person because you've triggered their emotions. But only somebody that's emotionally intelligent is able to understand the emotional intelligence of their consumer. And then just going back to the leadership thing, it's like Beju said, even though he was by a rubbish truck, there was nothing rubbish what he said at all, because recognizing your emotions drive you to your thinking and your reasoning. And just like intelligence, no one's born intelligent. We go to school, we learn, we do all these books, we do all these courses. It's the same for emotional intelligence. Yes, you can be surrounded by amazing parents that perhaps make you more emotional intelligent, but we all know it takes work. And the best leaders in the world are emotionally intelligent. For me, like Barack Obama, as opposed to maybe, sorry for any Boris lovers, but as opposed to maybe Boris Johnson or Trump, he's the definition of emotionally intelligent. In a crisis, he will assess the situation. He will be able to respond instead of react. He's not easily triggered, calm under pressure. You know, all of this showing empathy, great communicators. That is emotional intelligence. I watched something yesterday with Boris Johnson on a live interview, and someone was had said something, and he was repeating in their ear like a child, "Take it back, take it back, take it back, big man, take it back," and then started like kissing, like that sort of noise in his ear in a live interview. This is Boris Johnson. That is not an emotionally intelligent person. He's reacting. He can't help his emotions. He's easily triggered, so he acts on that. Whereas you'd never see somebody like, you know, Barack Obama doing anything like that, because he's so aware, so self-aware, so shows so much empathy for other people. So for me, yeah, to cut a long story short, it's about combining the power of your mind and your heart. When you've got that together, you're not only intelligent, but you're emotionally intelligent. You master that, any business is going to be successful. Your life will be successful. That's how I look at it. I'm done speaking. Thank you very much.
I love that.
Interesting. It's a really interesting question, because we're talking about both mindset and emotional intelligence. One, there's loads of content out there, loads of CD packs that you can buy on eBay. But what about emotional intelligence? Because you were just talking there, Susan, but what about someone that is struggling with it and needs to get better at it? There's just no solutions out there to do it, is there? Am I right in thinking it either comes naturally or it don't? Or
you can't give you. I try. My brother. Let me just check his list. Not listening. He is on Clubhouse, actually. To be fair, no, he's not here. My younger brother. So he, just a bit of backstory.
Cue everybody going and try and find Paul's brother.
No, he's not.
Anyone else doing it?
He's actually a stepbrother, so he's not actually got this. Not got the same surname as
What's
me.
his name?
So I can't tell you. Anyway, so his backstory is that he was signed for a football club quite young, 8 years old. Went through academy and went through all that stuff. Done YTS up to a certain point. So he was, in his whole life, was destined to be a professional footballer, and was told by everybody around him that he was going to be a professional footballer, but didn't have anything to fall back on. So he is 7 years younger than me, and literally left his football club, and I got a call from him say, "Oh yeah, I'm not playing football anymore. I've got a job." So he'd started working. I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm collecting rubbish." So he'd got a job collecting and recycling rubbish.
I just saw him.
And so I said, "No, you're not doing that. Come and work for me." And my business was a couple of years old at that point, and I had to try and fit him in, which was a struggle. But he ended up working for me for about 12 years, something like that. And then eventually went on to a friend of mine and is now doing relatively well in somebody else's organization, which was the best thing for him. But all of that skill and grounding was given by working with me. But for years, I tried to shove down his neck, book after book after book, course after course after course. Go away and make sure you read this month. Go and make sure you do this month. Basically laying out the steps that I had taken to get some sort of transformation. And he just wouldn't do it. He just didn't. He didn't value it. He didn't understand it. You can't. But that is exactly what he needed. What he needed was personal development, self-development, some emotional intelligence, just to transform himself. Everybody could see it except for him. He was exactly where he wanted to be. So that was the. You can't force it down.
Really interesting point. Yeah.
Just on that, mate. You know, when you talk about emotional intelligence, mindset, it's interchanged, because the reddition, if you do the inner work, whatever you want to call it, and you look at your mindset, you're looking at actually increasing your emotional awareness. Because, like you say, is when people aren't, have a strong mindset, for example, it's their emotions they can't handle. They react to stuff. They get angry. Their reaction to everything is about what's going on inside. So when you start doing the work, by definition, you're working on your self-awareness. You're working on your self-management. You're working on being more empathetic with other people. Now, there's certain people, if you talk about go to the extremes of narcissism and that kind of behavior, some people won't be. But like what Paul said, if you're not ready, You can force books and seminars, and we've all been there. How many times we come from a Tony Robbins event, first day, we become mini Tony Robbins, we go home and recite the whole seminar to our family, and they're like, who the hell are you? What do you think? You think you've owned the world now, right? You've got the world's soul problems. And we've all done it. We've all done it. You know, we've walked on coals, we conquer the world. Come on, you can join me. They're like, yeah, whatever. And then 5 days later, we crash and burn. Because it's that understanding. So it's interchange. We just might not call it emotional intelligence. But if you think about in schools, they try and do it through PHSE, but it's like one day of the month they talk about emotions, and that's it. But yeah, but great conversation.
That's it. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Thinking about it now, again, being self-aware, that probably is what happened. Well, because the more you study and listen to the mindset stuff, the more you understand the inner workings of you and your brain and your subconscious, because that's the most important thing. I always look at it as like my subconscious is very loud because I've dialed it up over the years. So I know the real reason why I'm not doing stuff, or the real reason I am doing the stuff that I shouldn't. I know because my subconscious voice is very loud.
You know what
whereas other people's is they've got no idea their subconscious is there. They've got no understanding of the actual thing that is controlling most of the stuff they do. They don't even know, they're not aware of it. So the louder that gets, but that only comes with going through God knows how many. I mean, I've probably spent weeks of my life, months of my life now, just listening to mindset and audios and things like that. But that has to be done on a daily basis as well, because it is like a muscle in the gym.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. And I think the more that it becomes louder, the more emotional and intelligent you become. I think that Beiju's just hit there. Beiju, you're a guru, mate. You're my guru.
But it is educating yourself as well. And then when you do learn, and you learn about your subconscious, and when you're learning and they're hitting the nail on the head, and you're just like, wow, that's me. And then what happens is, you control what triggers you.
Yeah.
How you know how you're going to react to certain situations. Some people just don't, and they'll explode.
But you can't. I mean, I gave up very quickly. I think after the first, like going back to what Paul said, after the first person that I tried to push any sort of book or life-changing thing that I'd had on, I knew then that was the wrong strategy.
Yeah.
So what happened? Because what happened with this guy in this example was he actually asked me. So he's like, mate, you seem to be like going in the right direction of your life, and all you seem like you got it all sorted out and stuff. By the way, this is just because I was started to think and talk differently. So yeah, and I was like, yeah, no, it's this stuff. And then I really got into it. And then have you read that thing yet? Have you listened to that thing yet? No, it's in the boot of the car. And then, and I kept trying to get him to do it, and I didn't. So now what happens, because I still get it a lot from family members, friends, when they do ask, I do a little takeaway close on them. I won't give them it. I'll say, yeah, I'll sort you that out next week. And I won't do it until they then come back to me again and ask
for it. Yeah.
And then I might give them a book, and then just won't say anything else. And again, until they come back to me for more. Because
how many people have come to you and said,
loads, mate.
Can you help me? And you go, read that, and they don't.
And then they don't, yeah.
And you think, like, I'm trying to give it to you.
Yeah.
And then
But actually, we used to be that person.
Yeah.
I bet we were that person. Someone said, do you read that other word? What's the matter with you? Yeah, it's all right for you.
I was well to a call at 16.
Exactly. So, we can easily judge and say, oh, no, but it's seeing the light. When you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah. How do you get on with your partners and wives with that?
My missus loves it. My missus loves it, but then holds me against it.
Well, but I tell you, no, seriously on that, Paul, right? It wasn't about that. It was about it. It wasn't about it, right? Because I probably talked it. I live it now 99%, but then I probably lived it only sort of 60%, right? I'm not scared to admit. There's no coach out there who does this work and don't say they don't. We all, we're hypocrites to a certain extent. That was part of it because I wasn't emotionally immature. When she said it was over, my reaction was victim. I'm losing, blah, blah. I didn't for one moment have any empathy about what she must have gone through to the point where she said, I don't want this anymore. Because everything was there, finance, the house was there. So it was like, it doesn't make sense. But I didn't for one moment. So my emotional intelligence, although I taught it and I from a book, I didn't practice it to that extent. And so then we went on this sort of journey. She did her journey. We did separate. We got back together. And that was funny because we got back together. It didn't last long. We got back together. But in that moment we got back together, she completely entered my world. She did Tony Robbins. She did Landmark. She did everything for her own sake. We eventually separated again for other reasons. But she does her own stuff now. So it's a tough one. It is a tough one because when you're in it and you can see it work, ask yourself, Paul, right? You've probably heard more around personal development in this world since Clubhouse than before. Would you say, Paul?
Yeah, because you're hearing it. We're hearing it every day at Breakfast
daily.
with Winners. It's daily dose every morning.
And there's a lot of people in Clubhouse, based on the kind of questions, it's the first time they've come across this kind of work, because you can tell by the kind of questions they ask and the reactions. You think, wow. So from that point of view, I think Clubhouse has been a really powerful medium for people to be introduced to this personal development, entrepreneurial mindset world. But
I think the difference is, though, people are coming here willingly. Going back to Paul, what Paul asked, how I deal with it. I don't talk about anything like that with Emily. You know,
she doesn't buy into it.
It's not that she. No. She knows about it, but it's weird. I don't push it on her and make her do it. She's naturally not like that. She's naturally a pessimist. She thinks the world's coming to an end all the time. You know, how are we going to do this? Oh, but if I come up with an idea, she thinks they're the problem straight away. There's no, and which is fine because I balance that out, and that's why we work. But and I'm exactly the same with my friends, because I believe it's very, very easy when you get into this stuff and you know it, because you know it's so good and it makes your life better. Your natural instinct is to try and push it on the people you love. Yeah. But what a lot of people do is they push too hard.
You repel them,
and you become the weirdo. You become like there's a phrase that we coined when I worked for Andy, and obviously that's all, personal development, mindset, NLP stuff that we coined for these people that used to come to the events, and it's NLP'd. Yeah, they're NLP'd.
Yeah.
Like they're literally NLP'd, which means that they can't have a conversation without talking about mindset, blah blah, and all of this sort of stuff with you, and it becomes like, mate, I just want a little rest from it. Let's talk about bollocks. Let's talk about football, or as a mate, I don't want to be coming here and being motivated by you. Let's talk about rubbish.
Let's go to the pub. It's Saturday. It'll be amazing.
But there's also, like, we actually met, and I know I'm not going to mention any names, but for people very close to me and people that are quite popular, they don't have any friends, like actual friends.
You talk about Paul. He's openly said he doesn't like people.
Because they're just a bit too NLP. There has to be that time. There's the environments where we love it and we talk about it, and when it calls for it, help people with your stuff, but don't try to. It's like how I look at it is it's like potentially trying to get someone to believe in God that doesn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Same sort of thing. That you'd be really put off by that, wouldn't you? Every time the Jehovah's knock on the door,
that's what you become. That's what you become.
My wife doesn't get it. She doesn't buy into it at all. Because I think she's, like I've said it before, she's comfortable and happy in her life, so she doesn't buy into it. But what I think the level of emotional intelligence, the journey that I've probably been through, and this came from a lot of counselling that we went through when we was having troubles, which I've spoken about before, but we're in separate individual sessions. I was saying to the guy that was doing the work with, like, that she just doesn't get it. She'll say you've changed, but actually I've just developed and I've gone on one path, she's gone on another path. And he said to me, every time that something is triggered in her, the one thing that is presenting itself is not the thing that's the problem, that's the actual problem. So your job is to understand that and not be triggered by it, not
by what she presents as the problem,
not react, question what's happened, and then try to work out what the problem is and fix it. And if you have that approach and that attitude, you'll never go through relationship problems, because
you're spot on there, Paul. Spot on there, Paul. There was a situation where I was talking to my wife, and I went into the mode, and she just paused and went, "Don't you try that shit on me." And we moved on.
Yeah, I don't do it straight away there. And actually, I've not mastered it, to be fair, because there's still some things that, as we all have in life, that trigger us. And usually it's our partners that trigger us the most, isn't it? Most of the time.
There's one thing that really grinds me, is that when I want to have the and my missus would go,
you said this the other day. This is brilliant.
And my missus would go, like, solutions, not problems. And I'm like, can you not, like, can you let me just have the
Yeah.
But what's that going to achieve? And I'm like,
throw that positivity in your face. Yeah.
And I'm like, can I just sulk for 5 minutes then?
Yeah. But Emily, that's like basically your Emily, because that's what she does with me. She can't have the I just won't let her do it. Yeah. I just won't let her have the
Yeah, because I've done it to her for so long.
It's done.
It's like, I think we was driving along once and I popped my tyre and I was raging. I was like, bang, why don't we just find a tyre place, Call a tyre.
That's the worst thing. That when you're raging, when someone's coming like, shut up! I just want to be annoyed.
And I probably feel I kicked my car just by being, just let me have the ump, babe. And she's going, do you want me to just bring the tyre company to come change the tyre?
Oh, not that one.
Solution's not problem.
We are all children at heart.
Do you know what we had for like a random Christmas gift? Sometimes Hayley's mum buys the most random stuff. Just like she does stocking. Well, I'm 38 years old. She still does a stocking for you. I'm like, it's really sweet, but she just fills it with like the most random cack that you just do not need.
Air fresheners for the petrol station.
No, it's like really weird stuff.
The TK Maxx. That is the place where they go.
It's like, worse than TK Maxx stuff. It's
not
like,
clothes. They just do gadgets in there.
This is what we had. She had bought me a tiny violin. So it's also for like a charity, shall I say? It's just like random stuff, like a tiny violin. Me and Hayley said, and this is when we were working together in the property business. We had 23 houses we looked after, 90 tenants, all HMO. We used to manage it. She did all the paperwork. I did all the logistical stuff, all the stuff that Paul would like kick your ass for now. Like I used to go to every viewing, I used to meet every tenant, used to meet all of their parents when they were moving down for universities and all that sort of stuff. Was too involved in the business anyway. So we were like busy all the time. We just had a baby. We were in a 2-bed flat. We're running a business off the dining room table. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's where Jeff Bezos started. So we'll be all right. Like we had so much stuff on. We spent so much time in each other's company, but we didn't spend any time talking to each other. Like really actually put a bit of wedge between us for a while. Anyway, in our infinite wisdom, we said as a joke that we'll keep the little violin. And if someone's having a bad day, you just go, oh, do you want a little violin? Do you want this little violin? Play me a little song.
Who was on the receiving end?
I was on the receiving end. There was something that happened one day, and Hayley was like, do you want the little violin? And I was like, get that violin out of my face. She went, we promised each other that we could pull it if we needed to. Do you know what we ended up doing? Throwing it in the bin because he had so many arguments about the little violin.
I had one in the drawer. I had one in my bottom drawer in my office in the business. And when somebody used to come in and complain and moan, I used to come around here. I used to bring them around to the other side of the desk and open the drawer, and the only thing that was in the drawer was the violin. I just stay silent. Just stay silent. They used to get. Some people used to get it, and some people would look at you and go, what's that?
You have evolved. Evolved. It's really interesting because the initial part of this conversation was, like sort of the emotional intelligence to use. Sort of, I say it in the best possible way, to use it on other people. To use that emotional intelligence. But sometimes the work you have to do, like you say, is like a muscle. You have to do it consistently. And look, someone else mentioned it. Look, what's the actual underlying root cause of the outcome? Because the reaction isn't the problem. That's just almost how it presents itself. And I had a situation a couple of years ago. I was running a coaching business full of egos. First time I'd ever made money. Thought, I was around some like proper, how do you put it?
Knobheads.
Yeah, basically.
So it's decentralized radio.
Yeah, it's fine. We can say whatever we want. But because they were like former, there's a lot of like male bravado, former fighters, like at a very high level. And I just walked around like I thought it was Conor McGregor for a bit. And I'd always had a bit of a challenge with my temper. Like I've just got a short fuse. And sometimes it's useful and sometimes it's not useful. So I was walking around with this short fuse, and then I sort of had it almost like a bravado thing. I was like, oh, this is, I've just got a short fuse.
Became your identity.
Became my identity. Yeah. So, but sometimes this is just sort of shows that a moment can change how you view your identity. Because I was driving along and someone cut me up in Lewisham. This is why often if people mention Lewisham, they were like, oh, you like Lewisham, didn't you? So anyway, someone cut me out, and they were like real dangerous driving. They cut for a red light. They'd handbrake, turn around a corner. They cut in front of people, and then they couldn't get any further. So I jumped out the car. So male ego, I'm like, right, get out of the car. Got out of the car, jumped out of the car, ran to the car in front who'd done all the cutting up. But I should have thought about it because the guy actually stopped. He stopped as well. And I was like, let's have it. And he stopped. I was like, okay, here we go. Open the door. This is in Lewisham, which Lewisham is a bit of a fruity place. Open the door. And it's nighttime, by the way. The guy is enormous. He's enormous. He's got 2 sets of sunglasses on, and he's got 4 mobile phones on his lap. So there's only one job that guy's doing. He's off delivering goods.
Yeah.
And I'm
Takeaways.
thinking,
Different
he's
takeaways.
different, delivering different. He's Deliveroo, and he's got little pouches of his Deliveroo goods in the front seat, and you can tell the sort of character is scars all over his face. I'm like, oh my god, what have I done here? But now I'm invested.
Yeah,
I'm invested. So, there's only one way that this is going to go. Like we're going to have it here. And again, my ego's like, I'll handle it anyway. So the guy gets out of the car, and he's like. He's twice the man that I am.
Could have blown
Maybe
you
not
over.
in emotional stature, but just in like, yeah, literally. And we stood there and squared off. And still, I'm like the little chimp is going, no, let's get back in the car. and the small man syndrome's going, no, we're having it. Anyway, so it comes to like sort of like words being said, and somehow it sort of diffused itself, and he walks away to get back in his car.
You weren't worth the risk.
At which point I'm thinking,
I'll take this.
No, should have thought that. At which point I went, yeah, you better off. To which point he just then turned around, and then we just had it. And within a second, like within 2 seconds, I don't even know. Like I got smashed in the face twice.
Yeah, that's what
I didn't even see. He was that fast. I didn't see his hand move. So it's not like you get out of the way of it because you can't find something you can't see. Bam! It's shot in the face twice. It's lucky it didn't take my jaw off. And to be fair, it wasn't then until, and then that was sort of it. What happened that quick? There's loads of traffic because we're in the middle of a main road as well. We're like having a fight, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And I got back in the car, so I got a bruised up face. I actually had somebody in the car with me as well, who at this point got out and decided they're going to get on the DLR rather than be in my car. No joke. I was saying it's funny now, but it wasn't. And I drove back that night, and I was like, actually, I just had my first son. And I was like, that situation, most weeks someone gets killed in Lewisham. Like, not to make it like, it's such a rough area, but it's like Lewisham is fruit. Like bad stuff happens in Lewisham. South East London, there's certain points and you like, be careful. Everything about that situation, pulling the car open, the mobile phones, he's obviously a dealer. He's obviously like, you know what you're getting yourself into. I'm thinking, there's every chance if that had gone sideways tonight, you're not going home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going home. So does that ego and that's the question that I said to myself. And I walked in the door because Hayley was at her mum and dad's, and I had to go and pick her up from her mum and dad. So I've got this like swelled up red face. I've got to walk in. I look really sheepish, and she's like, "What?" She went, "You're right. You look a bit pale." And I walked up. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, let's just go home, shall we? So picked up the baby, picked up my ego, and got in the car. She went, "What's happened?" And I said, "I'll see when I get home." So I told her. And I was like, in that moment, and it was literally driving back to Hayley's mum and dad's house. And I was like, the question I have to ask myself is what's more valuable? Going home to see my kid or the ego that I've given myself? What's more important? Getting home every night? Because I worked around there and I'd seen this car before. So I'm like, I'm definitely going to run into this guy again. And I've seen him a couple of times since then. And I'm like, right, what do you deal with it? Like, the right answer is you do nothing.
Yeah.
Like the right answer, you do nothing. But in that moment, I was like, right, this does not serve me anymore. And sometimes you can sort of like do that because I've been to a council after my dad died and all that sort of stuff. They're like, why are you angry? Sit down and tell us why you're angry. I'm just angry. But why is that? Do you think you could breathe more calmly? I'm like, no, I can't breathe more calmly. But that identity statement on some level must have served me.
Yeah.
Because I'd done it for so long. That identity statement must have, but it wasn't literally until getting clumped in the face. So basically what I'm saying, guys, is if you need to work in emotional intelligence, go to Lewisham and get smashed in the face.
So did you, at that point, is that when you discovered personal development, really?
No, I'd already discovered it.
Okay.
I'd already discovered
Clearly
it. So
wasn't working.
No, exactly. Yeah, no. So it was...
was you one of those ones that got given the book and put in the boot of your car and never read it?
No, I was up for it. But do you know, I think it was probably, I was a product of my environment because I was around constant ego and bravado.
Yeah.
So the guys I used to work with, they're former international boxing champions that are like at a top level. And I spoke to all of it because he phoned me and he's like, "You're right." And I was like, "Yeah, I've just got in a fight in Lewisham." And he said, "Oh, what happened? And to his credit, I mean, there's not many good points about these guys, but to his credit, he went, what happened? And I told him, and he said, "Do you know what? Good." He said, "Maybe that'll teach you a lesson." He said, you don't need to get out. He said, "That could have ended so much worse."
Yeah.
He said, realistically, imagine I cut you up and you get out of the car and you come up to someone like me. He said, imagine what happens that you and me come against each other.
Yeah.
There's only one way that's going to end, and that's really badly for you. Like I've hurt people in a ring. Imagine what I could do to someone like you. Yeah. He said, those people are out there. He says, good that you've learned the lesson and you haven't got that badly damaged from it. He said, I think it's good. Knock you down a peg or two. And I was like, oh, that's deflating.
I'm glad I met you now and not then. Alison's asked a great question.
Paul, can I
Alison.
just say something? Paul, can I just say something really quickly?
Yeah.
You know, when you said about how did you not do personal development, right? People fall into this trap thinking if you've done it, it means you've got this right to always be really balanced and that. All personal development does is give you a set of toolbox. It's up to you to know when to use those tools. It's like anything. You can have a plumber with a load of tools. If they don't use the tools, you're not going to have the impact. So we don't have the right, when we do this work, we don't have the right of meaning we're going to have a perfect life. We don't have the right not to have any problems or challenges. All it means is we've got a bigger toolbox. We still have to use them at the right time and right away. So, and that's why people fall into the trap thinking, oh, if you've done the work, you're sorted and, you know, you're better than everybody else. You're not. You're not. You just got a bigger toolbox. That's all.
Thanks, Beju. Alison's asked a great question via the live stream. By the way, we're live on video. You can watch that. For some reason, the Sociotap is down, so the links in the bio are not working. But I've actually put the YouTube link into my bio. So if you want to go into my my Instagram bio or James's Instagram bio, you can click through and it goes straight to the YouTube feed, and you can watch the studio feed. It's me, James, Ashley, and Matt Wilson in the studio. Alison's asked a great question. Do you think?
Oh, this is going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, get ready, people. Do you think that females are more emotionally intelligent than males? What a question.
Oh. No one wants to touch that.
Should we put it out there first? Should we put it out there
We're four blokes in the studio answering that question.
No, I do. I think they are. Yeah, I definitely think females are more emotionally intelligent.
Right, let's get a different perspective on this.
More in tune. What I feel is they're probably more in tune with their emotions, whether that's emotional intelligence or not. Like you being egotistic. I feel that females probably would have recognized that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. My wife's got a canny knack of never meeting somebody, listening to me speak about somebody or have conversations on the phone and be able to
judge their character,
tell me what their character is without never meeting them.
Yeah. Haley's exactly the same.
And annoyingly, I get triggered by it and I'm like, you never met the person. How can you say that? And then 3 or 4 months later, she's like, I told you so.
Yeah.
How's that possible? Yeah. That must be a superpower. So yeah, are females more emotionally intelligent than males?
Iffy was flashing. Let's go to Iffy. Go on, Iffy.
Hello, good morning. What an interesting conversation. I've been smiling and laughing and enjoying it along the way. What a great question, Alison. Well, in the work that I do is I first of all started a lot of my work helping men, not women, men. And the reason I was helping men is because when children in their formative years, when we're looking after them and raising them, there's been loads of studies that show that girls and boys are hugged and loved and have the same affection until they're about 5, and then 50% drops off for boys. Boys are hugged less. Boys are treated differently. I'm not saying all parents, but what I found with working with men, a lot of the men I worked with were just coming up to 40 years old, and the challenges and troubles that they had were very much linked to low self-esteem and guilt, shame, resentment, all of those negative emotions. And I think, and we're looking at men who were born in like 1979. So these particular men that I worked with, the reason is that they were not taught how to express their emotions. They bottled a lot of it up. And also as they got older and older, there was this idea of how men should behave. You know, there's so much stuff around mental health now, and there's so much stuff about, you know, boys don't cry and all that kind of stuff, and man up and all of that. And what that does to a male is that they have an identity of the way that they're supposed to interact with the world. You know, how many of you guys in the studio have cried in front of your partners? And why have you and why haven't you? I know Beju talks about his ability, but it's something, as I definitely think the reason why women probably have more emotional intelligence is because of the way that we're allowed to cry more, the way that we're allowed to get upset, the way that we are able to communicate how we feel. Even if we look at teachers and how teachers behave directly towards men, boys and girls, it's different. They did a study and I think it was on BBC a while ago where they watched teachers interacting with children and watch the way that teachers interact differently with boys to girls. And there's that whole advert that we've seen, you know, about girls, run like a girl, all that kind of stuff. So I think over the generations, we have this idea of what a boy should do and what a girl should do. And girls are given more space to be emotional, more space to say how they feel. And I think that when we're working with boys and men, it's about teaching, because I think Matt said the question, can you teach somebody? I think absolutely. I spend a lot of time giving boys and girls and men blueprints on how to respond. So I think if you know in advance how you're going to respond, and you experience things like you did, James, the more and more you experience things, the more, like Beju says, you can go into your toolbox and get it. But if there's no tools in the toolbox because there's nothing inside it, then it's very hard to reach inside. And I think with boys and men, it's not necessarily a priority. It's definitely not a priority to teach boys and men how to connect with themselves. So to answer the question, I totally believe that women are, but not because we were born with it, but because of the environment and the way that the world has treated us.
Society dictates it, basically.
So it's been nurtured, not natured.
Interesting. What does Alison think?
I think you're a crier, first of all. I bet you're a crier.
My wife seen me cry 3 times in 14 years.
You're joking?
Nope.
When was that? Wedding day?
I've cried 3 times this week.
No.
Probably today.
No, it was weird because when my mum and dad broke up, that was one of them.
Okay.
When my nan died, and when I was near enough broke. She remembers them like no. She knows. You could ask her, she'd say exactly the same. I am someone who bottles up my emotion and then go and take it out on that person that just said the wrong thing.
So as you know that, is that an area that you think that you would like to work on?
I don't cry, but I'm now more emotional.
Yeah, because you're quite. I wouldn't say you're not like a tightly wound person. I think you're quite open.
No, because I used to get so angry, because that's how I showed my emotion.
Yeah.
And then I become very, very conscious of it. So now I think like I will let someone know when I'm not feeling right. I will let someone know because then that just saves any emotion building up. So I let them know where I am.
But you're not a crier, are you?
No, I've said it a couple of weeks ago. I know one of my flaws is I have trouble showing any form of emotion. So I have trouble showing love or I guess understanding what that is, because it goes back to what Iffy said. I never experienced that.
Saw it, yeah.
I never had a male figure in my life. Never had much of a family upbringing to some extent. So I have trouble processing that emotion. I had to almost teach myself to love my kids, which is a shocking thing to say, but I've really struggled with it. I'm there now. Like I'm definitely there now. I love my kids, but I'd never understood what that emotion was.
How did you learn that? Or how did you
I think a lot of work. Yeah, like a lot of
how did you know that how you'd been, because obviously, like I say, this is a great point that Iffy's brought up, that it's almost been nurtured into kids. So how did you go, well, hang on a second, that's what my mum did with me, so that must be the right way to do it.
I think as parents, and this is females learn to be mums most of the time from the experiences they've had from their mums, right? I'm guessing. And males tend to, you probably take reference for being a dad from your experiences of your dad. So for me, I never had either of those two things.
Yeah.
So I had no
reference point.
No reference point of where to go to. I had some male figures in my life that had sort of had an impact on me when I was like 13 years old, 14 years old. And I'd reference back to certain points, but I never had any reference of this is how to be a parent. This is stuff that you should do.
So when you had your first
kid, my wife knew how to do it. Like,
so did you tell her like, I don't know how to do this?
I've not at the point. No, not then. I only really told her like my first, second child. She said to me, you've got, she said, you're noticeably a lot more involved and you're like a different person with this child to the first one.
Right.
And that's at that point I was doing a lot of self-work, and I'd sort of said, yeah, this is the reason why, because I've sort of learned what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the reasons why. Yeah.
Can I just
that statement, learning to love your kids, is something that Charlotte said to me. I can tell we got brought up different. I've never thought.
Yeah, my wife knew what to do on day one. Like immediately, that maternal instinct was there, and
she's from a very like a big family, isn't she?
But people go like I used to be half with my granddad, half with my auntie my whole life because my parents couldn't deal with me. I was
easy. Your dad comes in the room.
Well, yeah, my dad does come in the room, and but it's like you go down to EMC. My auntie rang me up. Don't worry, I'll be there. But that's the only figure out of my parent. Like, she was like a mum to me. So she was just like, well, I know no one's going to come down and support you, so I'll come down. Because I didn't, when I grew up, my dad was always at work. Always at work. I didn't see my dad. I went to bed. And my wife says, we got brought up different. And the first 6 months of Ariana being born, I didn't know what to do.
It's funny if he touches on hugs, because I make a point. My eldest son, who's 6 now, he loves a cuddle from me. Absolutely loves a cuddle, and it's on a priority. Like, it's every morning. Not when I come here to the studio, but usually it's every morning. And it's like, you'll notice with me, I'll do breakfast with winners, and I'll usually, if I host a slot, it's usually the first one. Because then the kids they're waking up at like 7:15 for school. I'll go upstairs, get back in bed, cuddles, 10, 15, 20 minutes of cuddles, mainly with my son. And I don't know why that is, but subconsciously that's just what we do.
Yeah, it's your routine.
And he loves it. And when I get home, he's the first one to run up and throw his arms around my neck and sit on my lap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 girls and two boys, but it's always him. He's the first one to do it.
Yeah.
And that's subconsciously because you didn't have it.
I don't know. The coaches in the room will have a field day with this. Please
But
don't.
If he's like, let me psychoanalyze quick.
Right, go at Paul, guys. Now let's
Can I
coach
just
Paul.
jump in with what Paul said, because that's so important. There's a family psychologist called Virginia Satir, and she has this idea that hugs are important. You need 4 hugs a day for survival. You need 8 hugs a day for health, and you need 12 hugs a day for growth. So when I read that, I consciously start counting how many hugs I'm giving my children. So sometimes 1 hug is not enough. So the fact that you're hugging your child makes sense, because this family psychologist, she wrote it down years ago, maybe 30 years ago. 4 hugs a day for survival.
Jesus, if you got 4 kids, I'll be there all day.
I was just that's 36 hugs. Jesus, I thought I gave a lot of hugs.
Can you have group hugs? Is that okay?
Yeah, group hugs.
Yeah, it's interesting. I consciously do it with my son. Bearing in mind, my son's 14 now. That's a lot more difficult when they get older.
Does he want to give you a hug?
But I make myself do it, and I make him do it every single day. That normally at the end though. So there's no, like Paul just said, yeah, we have cuddles. There's no cuddles. We have a cuddle because I make that cuddle happen. Because
it's an awkward moment.
I never cuddled my dad when I was younger. Now I've got a great relationship with my dad, but I never cuddled my dad. And I can remember the first time I became consciously aware that me and my dad didn't cuddle. I was 16 years old, and I was going to visit my mate who moved away to live in the Lake District. First time I'd ever been away like that far without my family. So my dad took me to Euston Station because I had to get the train up there. And before I got on the train, I gave him a cuddle. And I said, see you later, Dad. And I gave him a cuddle. And then I can remember when I come back, my mum had said that he'd come back nearly in tears because you had a cuddle. And I was like, what? Really? Well, she was like, it meant so much to him. So, well, it's not my fault we don't cuddle. He's never cuddled me. I just gave him a cuddle. And then, but it was a big thing for me because I was like, geez, all of that time he'd wanted that, but never felt like he could, which is really weird. And I just wanted to make sure that, so I just purposely do it with Ben now. I make sure that every day we have a cuddle.
love that.
Even though, bearing in mind, Ben's now 1 inch taller than me. He's 14. He's 6'1".
Really?
He's 6'1".
Wow. He's
Gangly as anything, like I was, like really just like a drain pipe. Until I got in the gym, I was like really skinny. But he's taller than me now, so it's like it's quite awkward cuddling people. It's not very often I have to cuddle people taller than me. I'm sort of like, how do I do this?
Let's get Alison's answer to her own question. Then I'm going to come to Nichelle because Nichelle sent me a message. Alison,
She's gone.
Oh, she's gone. She dropped a bomb and then she left the room. Do you know what, my dad? I went to work abroad as a holiday rep when I was 19. So I'd moved out when I was a kid at 16 because I didn't like my mum and dad. I decided they were all right again, lived back in their house. Moved out at 19.
That was right when you wanted to live back in their house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're quite nice people actually. And then when I went to work abroad at 19, so I was going to work in Spain, but this is before like the internet was really popular. You used to have to get like a phone card and stuff. So it might as well have been like the other side of the world. And my dad, very similar story. My dad took me to Uxbridge train station to get on the tube to go up to London to go on to some training course before you fly out. I'll never forget it. He talk about a lack of emotional intelligence. He pulled up and he was obviously like visibly upset that I was going, but he tried to shake my hand. He's like, good luck. Give me 50 quid. He tried to shake my hand. I was like, what are you doing? And I called him Mikey Michael by this point because it really pissed him off. So like, come on, Mikey Michael, let's just hug out. I was like, oh no, we don't need to do that. He tried to, I'm like, you tried to shake my hand. We did a business deal here. Like, what's happening? See you in 7 months. And then I give him a hug, and he cried. And I'm like, what are you? Like, he tried to shake my hand, and I'm like,
yeah. But again,
wow.
I think it's just a different generation, wasn't it? Like, because I know for a fact that my dad never would have got any emotion off my granddad.
Yeah,
in that way. And then I definitely got more because I know, but after having conversations with my mum, that my dad always told my mum that he wanted to be better at that part, even though he weren't much better. And then because of that, now I'm trying to be more, you know. So it's sort of like a knock-on effect, isn't it?
Nichelle, going to come to you because I know you've messaged me. Sorry for the delay.
That's right. Thanks, Paul. Great conversation. So just going back to the hugs thing, it was really obvious in Romania when those orphans were all found and discovered, just abandoned by the parents, and their development was severely hampered because they hadn't had any love, and you know, the nursing staff had so many that were abandoned that it stunted their growth and their development. So it's really key, this whole kind of nurturing and loving and hugging and physical contact based around the emotion of, you know, your kids. So that's one thing, massively important. I think talking about sort of partners and marriage and that sort of stuff, if one of you's more into personal development than the other, and this is just from my experience, I am really into it. And it was really obvious looking back now that before myself and my husband split up, he wasn't. He was a massive, brilliant academic brain and brilliant in retail and management, but he wasn't emotionally aware. And that's really been, you know, if I take away all the sort of hurt and the brokenness of how he's never connected with his kids since he walked out, never paid for them, he's actually been my greatest teacher and my kids' greatest teacher. You know, my middle son knows he needs therapy. He said, look, you know, he's still broken and angry. He's 18. And, you know, he's just said, look, Mum, I'm not ready yet. But when I am, I know I need to talk to somebody. And for me, as a parent, that awareness of knowing he needs to sort of, you know, get on that journey, because emotional intelligence is a journey like self-development, you know, it's really key and really interesting. I've got 3 kids. My youngest, my 15-year-old, is very huggable, really empathic, really aware of people's feelings and emotions. Middle one, not so much, because he's still, you know, dealing with what's going on with him and his. And then my daughter, who's so emotionally intelligent and aware, doesn't like hugs. And it's really interesting how different everybody is. And I wouldn't say that this is not to negate men versus women, but I think women are more emotionally connected, but only because, and again, not 100% are, but only because we co-create our babies, right? So we carry and grow our babies with our baby. It's a collaboration. It's a creative process during that gestation period. And that whole maternal thing generally is why women are more connected to the emotions, and because we've created another human being inside ourselves. And that's massive. You know, 9 months of that connection, talking to the baby, you know, sort of feeling the baby, all of that sort of stuff is really massive. And I think that's probably why women have the edge on that. However, having said that, you know, we all know that those generational relationships, we've seen the documentaries and the movies of where, you know, maybe there's a woman who's you know, a drug addict or an alcoholic or an individual that's gone through some trauma, and they didn't have that connection with their parents or that love, and so they become disconnected to their babies, and that then just, you know, follows on. That massive Harvard study with the mice, where they had 5 generations. They introduced cherry blossom smell with electric shock treatment for the first generation, and then the second generation of mice, they didn't do the electric shock treatment. They just introduced the cherry blossom scent, and the trauma at a cellular level for that second generation was still there. Then they missed the third and the fourth, did nothing to generation 3 and 4, and then generation 5, they reintroduced the cherry blossom smell, and that trauma was still there. So, you know, we have to be aware that, you know, if we want to be emotionally intelligent and aware, that journey, that chain of emotional trauma coming down the generation stops with us. I think I've heard Jennifer say that before. I'm not going to be allowing my kids to deal with the generational trauma if I can make a difference right here, right now. And I think, going back to a load of stuff, forgiveness is a part of emotional intelligence that we need to sort of grow ourselves. And the 4 intelligence, obviously, are academic intelligent, doesn't mean you're emotionally intelligent. Then we've got emotional intelligence, we've got KQ, so IQ, EQ, and KQ. KQ is kind of your body, how aware of you of your physical side, your health, and all that sort of stuff. And Susan's going to love this one. The SQ is spiritual intelligence. So all of those elements sort of can be areas where we can grow and develop. And I really think that emotional intelligence should massively be taught in schools. They're like sponges of kids, and if we can give them lots of tools really early on, imagine the kids that we will grow when they're getting it from the parents and they're getting it at school. I mean, I know teachers can't be all things to all people, but it's so important. So that's my take.
Wow,
that was brilliant.
Interesting.
Good share. Thanks, Nichelle.
Well done, Nichelle.
I'm going to come to Pete next
That was
as well.
well fascinating.
I think Pete's going to have something good to say. Pete's
Is
message.
Pete here?
Pete's here.
Where
He's
is
got a
he?
red duck.
He's got a duck on his head somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah, of course I'm here. I'm always here.
Of course
I'm
he's
always-
here, bruv. Of course he's here.
I'm in your
Of course
seat, Pete.
Oi. It's just such a fascinating conversation. I absolutely love what Nichelle just said there about in Romania. I had a girlfriend who went out there, and that was at the time with HIV and AIDS, that a lot of the people there thought if you actually touched those children, you could get the disease yourself. And what they actually found is that a lot of the children who weren't touched, they had smaller brains. And it really kind of then brought to the surface how touch really does help build a brain. And it was so fascinating hearing about the relationships with our dads, because my granddad was a bit of I have to say he was a bit of a dick.
That's a peak psychology term, guys, in case you're wondering.
I'm sorry. That's maybe not the right word to say.
No,
but,
you got to the point though. I like it.
Well, he used to say things like, don't put your elbows on the table. It's like, why not? Like it's just some silly things that don't stroke the dog. It's like, well, why not? Why have a dog?
Don't stroke a dog. It's like, don't lick
our
the ice
dog.
cream. Why would you?
Your own dog.
Yeah, it was our own dog. He said, don't stroke the dog. I goes, why not? Because the dog's dirty. And I went, it was loads of things that he used to say. But my granddad didn't really show my dad any love. Didn't hug my dad. He never told him he was proud of him. But why my dad was truly awesome, because my dad was not like that. My dad learned over the years to be really, kind and hugging. But one of the regrets I had is I felt uncomfortable as I got older. My dad would occasionally kiss me, right? And I was thought, hang on, he's never kissed me before. Why is he kissing me now? And I think my dad's not here anymore, but literally, I think I only ever kissed him back once. It was just something I felt uncomfortable with. And the last thing I wanted to say about this is we all know how important touch is and how COVID has made a lot of people really cautious of touch. And I think, and we're also told, don't talk to strangers. Obviously, now people are thinking, even if you know someone, well, I better not touch that person because I might catch a virus. I think we've got to be the huggers. We've got to take the hug back to the world, because I think it just really does make a difference, when you give someone a hug. It kind of breaks. I think it's not a great thing to do when you hug someone. But
what's the situation at EMC, Matt? Are we hugging? I'm hugging everyone. I'm double jabbed up.
Yeah,
I'm game for it.
Yeah,
no, I've made a point now of shaking people's hands and actually hugging and saying hello. Because there's a point where you would say,
I haven't had my
4 or
hug
5
yet.
years ago, well, not even that, 2 years ago, you'd meet somebody, you'd be introduced to somebody. Hi, how are you? You'd shake their hand, or you'd give them a little hug, wouldn't you? Or a kiss on each cheek, or whatever, depending.
Have you
on
had a
what
hug,
country
It's
you're
so
in.
international.
Yeah, hug.
No,
Mate,
he
these clubhouse
side-eyed me a
meetups-
couple of times. That was about it.
Mate, at these clubhouse meetups, you're not going to help but hug people. It is unreal.
I've seen the videos. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Right? Oh my God, right. There's probably many people here who have not met each other. And next week, it'll be like, Matt, you
Well,
need to
the problem is, though, do you know in those films where you see from back in the day, where when people meet the king, they bring gifts, don't they? And they have to queue up, and then they come
That's
and
right.
kneel.
Yeah.
We've got a stage with a throne on it, and if you're going to meet Ashley, you've got to come and queue up. And
Yeah.
when you come forward, you have to
Ryan
kneel,
got
you
his,
have to
Ryan
kneel
got his
down.
gifts
with,
or sacrifices.
With gifts,
Yeah.
gifts or sacrifices.
Ryan needs to wear his leaf next to him with his little, emperor's clothes, and just fan
Yeah,
him.
Ryan's already busy on head of security, actually, Beijing.
Oh,
So
I know
please
he's
don't distract the head of security.
security of James, because he's
Double speaker. I don't know if you know this, guys. Double speaker.
Don't come near James. Actually, he sounds a bit punchy, by the way.
No. I'm not the punchy. I'm the punched. I thought I was the punchy. Turns out I'm definitely not.
Sarah's got a question. She's got a question for us. Where's Sarah? Sarah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm just on my walk. So I hope it doesn't.
It's very quiet.
Can't hear you.
Can I ask a big favor? I've got to go, but I wanted to just quickly say something, if I may.
But my question is,
Sarah,
we'll come back to you, Sarah.
We'll come back to you. You've got bad signal. We'll come back to you. Jonathan, go for it.
Thank you, mate. I've been scared to pop into this room because it should be called the Breakfast with the Brits. It's a lot of use, and we've just given you a bit of a hiding in the Lion series. I won't even bring up the football, but
No, remove. Throw back into the audience.
I wanted to say that I came in as you were talking about that father and intimacy thing, and there's no more iconic display of a profound lack of warmth than when Queen Elizabeth arrives back from Australia on the QE2 and Charles is on the dock waiting for her, and she's got a glove on, and she walks to her son who's 3 years old, and she extends the glove and shakes his hand. The poor little egg sitting there waiting for a hug. I mean, Christ. I mean, but so my father's English, and we descended from you great people, and I'll never forget this, that I'd been in the military, and we were conscripted in for like 2 years, and I'd had a hell of a time, and we'd been in Angola, and we were all killing people in defense of apartheid and all that shit. And I phoned my father after 16 months, and all the guys like gathered round because it was such an exciting like elation when a guy was coming home. And I phoned him and I said, Dad? He said, yes, my boy. I said, I'm coming home on Friday. And all the guys were waiting, and he went, oh, right, John, look, is there any way Stuart could pick you up? Because I'm going to a braai at Vic and Cat. Fucking thanks a lot. So I related to that thing about kissing back and all that stuff. But the one thing I did want to say is that in this COVID time, that profound last speaker said, the hug thing has gone for a bit of a ball, but the hug and the fug have gone for a bit of a ball. So with that in mind, let's hope our days of both are coming back thick and fast. I love being in this. Go South Africa, you beauts, and you Brits. Well, you changed the world, didn't you? I love you all.
Thanks, Jonathan. Brilliant. Alison, we came to you and then you disappeared. We'd love to hear the answer to
you set the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons here.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on your question.
I'm in Manchester dropping my son off, so I had to go, and I'm just in a hotel, so let me change parts. Yeah, I definitely think that we're born with more emotional intelligence. It's really interesting. I don't have facts to back that up. That's just my opinion.
You don't need facts. You're Alison Egger, MBA. You can say what you like.
Yeah, but I think the other thing which is quite interesting, sort of listening, because I've never done any personal development, so I've never invested in personal development. So it was really interesting, like seeing how hard you guys have worked at it and invested in it. And that's where I'm thinking, well, obviously I come from sales, and a lot of that, I don't even know the techniques of NLP. I just know how to sell, and there probably is quite a lot of similarity there. So it's interesting to see whether.
It's very surprising that you haven't, though. That surprised me.
So, being in sales?
No, that Alison hadn't done any
personal development
stuff.
She hasn't consciously done any. I reckon she's done a lot.
Yeah, but if you look at a lot of the stuff I do, I've had to work. Like, I mean, my first gut reaction, and I think it was because I was quite a difficult child to manage. The anger would have been my first port of call. Like, I just would go from zero to hero from an anger perspective. And that's something that I became aware of, and I'm aware of the effects. And especially when I moved into the workplace at 16, that just doesn't wash, doesn't it? And I think nobody taught me how to overcome that. I just thought, you know what? And again, you write a book called Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want. You've got to work out how to get what you want, and shouting and screaming and being angry doesn't wash, does it? So I think that again, when I was learning all these techniques, I'm a wee bit older than quite a lot of people on the stage, that there was no Google, there was no internet. It was these things called encyclopedias. And because I couldn't read, I don't know. So I think that I learned through my emotional intelligence. I think that's how I learned. But I do think, again, it's been really fascinating because like my mum was a big hugger, but my dad, he was orphaned during the war, and he was brought up in an institution, really, so he didn't have that personal contact, so he was very, very removed from any emotions, but I don't think that affected how we related to him. He just didn't want that because he hadn't experienced it, whereas my mum was one of 13 or 14. So again, actually one passed away, so there was 14 in them originally and there was 13. So, and again, when they used to go for the shopping, like, again, this is like during the war, this is like in the 40s and the 50s, like there was no cars. So can you imagine trying to get the milk and the bread? They had to take a wheelbarrow to the shop to just get the milk and the bread for the family. So they would have been quite, again, they had a lot of love-hate. I think when you get a big family like that, they go from battering each other to hugging each other to, just sort of surviving. So I do think, some of the stuff you're actually born with, but the other stuff is actually in the environment that you are brought up in. But, I don't know why I've got those skills, because it's not anything I learned. I think I'm just a self-learner. I just watch what people do and I think, oh yeah, I like a wee bit of that. Oh, that's really good. And I think, again, because of the dyslexia and neurodiversity, I understood early doors that my superpower was people. I love people. And if you can get people to love you, then you kind of get what you want. And that's where the emotional intelligence comes in, doesn't it? Really, really not just talking the talk, but walking the walk and building those relationships. And that's one of the things, because I'm non-academic, that I really grasped early doors. Like, if I'm going to make my life happen, if I'm going to get the best out of this life, I'm going to have to get people to help me. And to get people to help me, I'm going to have to get them to like me and build that relationship. So yeah, that's my thought. I'm in Manchester. My son's just come back to uni, so he drove out yesterday. I'm staying over. I've got clients at 9:30, then I'm driving back down to Wiltshire. So I'm in a hotel, very nice hotel somewhere in Manchester.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alison.
Cheers, Alison.
All right, I've got a few people here I'm going to quickly go through because they've been messaging me in the background. So
you become a megastar, haven't you? Since you started dropping like knowledge bombs on business. Paul Abercrombie's the big draw here now. Ashley looks a little bit disgruntled by it all, frankly.
No, because he can reply to the messages. Trust me, he's going to be. I already feel it that in about a week's time he's going to be like, yeah, I've got PA now.
Don't be an influencer anymore.
Interesting point though about Alison never doing any personal development. I think we all. Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm just making assumptions here, but I went down that path because I think most of us will ask the question either there's got to be a better way to do this, or I want more in life. There's I think the two big questions you probably ask yourself, and then that leads you to look for something else. And I think some people either find mentors or find people that they can, within their circle, that they can speak to and get information from. Or you end up finding, like most of us, Tony Robbins and going down the personal development route. Probably that was the questions, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Some people also they don't need the traditional sort of self-help. Like my wife, before I sort of like didn't force her to get into it, but I was like reading the books, Think and Grow Rich and The Magic of Thinking Big, and I was watching stuff and I was listening to stuff, and I'd done an NLP course and then a master NLP course. And I used to come out from these courses and like, I'm going to NLP the shit out of you. So I used to say to her, she's like, whatever. But she's just like, and I say this to her all the time, I feel like I have to work quite hard, and I guess that's all a perception, but I have to work quite hard to keep myself level. Because I could be like high or I could be low, but she just like ticks along in the middle. She didn't have to try hard, if that makes sense.
I've said this to my missus before, and she turned around and went, "It's being a mum."
Yeah, Hayley was like this before being a mum, though.
What a horrible way the world perceives it, though. Self-help. That just sounds horrible, doesn't it? That's like
self-improvement, self-betterment, self-actualization,
personal development.
It's a self-help section, but when there was bookstores, I don't know. I haven't really been to one for a while. But it was the self-help section.
Yeah, they still have it on the iTunes category for podcasts. Self-help is still
shocking. I'm going to come to Denise. We're going to come back to Sarah in a few minutes. She's just sent me a message. She'll be home so she can ask her question. Denise, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Morning, everybody. Just quickly on the whole self-help thing, Alison, you've definitely done self-help. You've just done it for yourself. I've
paid for people and I wasn't ready, and it was when I was ready to do it myself that's the thing that helped. So you can hear in your voice you've definitely done self-help, just not the traditional route. So well done for finding it yourself, because not everybody gets there. That's amazing. But I just need to go back to the whole Paul and James and their wives intuitively knowing other people's agendas or mentalities without actually meeting them. This is an argument me and my husband have had a million times, because he does business deals with people and he'll talk about them and I will know instantly whether or not those deals are going to go south. And it drives him utterly insane. And it isn't just because I'm more emotionally intelligent than him and that I've tuned into myself. It's also that I've tuned into him and I can hear the language he uses, the facial expressions he uses and his body language. And I can tell he already knows where that's going to go. So actually, Paul and James, it's probably that you're showing them all of the signs of how you actually feel about that person. You just haven't accepted it yet. So when you said that, it raised massive flags for me. So listen to how you feel about those people first, because it's just that your wife already can tell how you feel rather than knows more about them than you. Hope that helps.
Wow, that's, do you know, that's a really valid point. I never looked at it like that. A reframe to slightly look at it slightly differently, but that is yeah, you've got a very, very valid point there. James isn't next to me. He's gone to get the coffees, so I'll tell him when he comes back. But yeah, wow, enlightening. Okay, going to come to, hold on a minute. Going to come to Dow. Going to go Dow and then we'll go Sarah. Good morning, Dow.
Good morning, guys and girls and absolute winners. This is such a wicked conversation. I've loved all of the inputs. It's so cool. I want to ask a question to everybody though. Can you give me my flash if you think that being angry is naughty to a kid? Absolutely. I should have no mic flash. Oh, Holly, no, what's going on? Being angry. So this is just from my perspective, from my life and my research that I've done with kids, everybody. So when a child expresses themselves and it's been condemned, whether it be from a simple saying or a look or a facial expression, then they feel as if they shouldn't do that because their culture, especially if it's from their cultural architects, their mum or dad or grandparents, whoever has a close affinity to them. If we express that in a way of disappointment or any other mild form of disillusion of just this is not, you shouldn't be doing this, then they're going to withdraw and they're going to withhold. And when they get to the age of, I don't know, teens, when they're really going through something, like when children get between the age of 12 to 18, they're going through what's called the social phase, and they are really looking to extend their tribe. And to do that, they tend to dismiss mummy and daddy and go on to other tribe members to grow their troop, as it were, if we were to go back to the caveman and cavewoman times. But there's a problem, isn't there, really? Because sometimes these other people are very unstable and they've only just kind of been on this planet for roughly around about 15 or so years. So they're going to these people for their advice, and they're certainly not attuned to parents. So what if a child does have a problem and just feels sad or depressed or anxious? That very first look that you've put into their imprint phase, which is from 0 to 7, kind of gives them an unconscious message of it's not okay to share. It's not okay to release. It's not okay to express emotion in this way. So I am by no means telling anybody what to do at all. It's just that what I found has been pretty useful. Whatever any form of anger that's expressed by the child needs to be greeted in a safe, understanding, nurtured way, I believe. Because when we do this, we give the child permission to release, and that's important. You wouldn't think of it like this. You wouldn't shout at a child for being happy. You're too happy, child. Sit down. What you might do if I've listened to a few grandparent stories on this app today, but you wouldn't condemn them for being really super happy. You want to nurture that. You want to grow that. But it's so important for them to be angry. Ash, when you were sharing about being upset or being angry, when your wife was just saying, you know what, can you just give me a minute? Can you just give me a minute? And I was on the other receiving end. I love Matt when he said, you've been NLP, because I was NLP with my girlfriend, and I was completely walking around as if I was floating on a cloud. Where so I know NLP now, so I am technically a god, and I know my mind, and I'm better than you. I don't think that, but I'll give off that impression, and that sucked massively because she didn't feel safe to express in front of me because it's going to be dismissed. allow that time just to release and just go rah. I think it's super, super important. What I do with my kids that come to me, I piss them off on purpose. I get them angry on purpose because it's a nice, safe environment. It's a nice, safe, controlled area. And also it allows them the understanding of their own emotions, which is growing their intelligence in that realm. And it's also really important to recognize it in other people. So emotional intelligence in the 3 S's. So self is the most important one, then your own skill, and then social. So can you recognize when somebody needs your emotion, aka empathy, when they're expressing themselves? So there's no naughty emotion, there's no bad emotion, there's no negative, there's no positive emotion. It's just an emotion. It's just an emotion that's just there, that's giving some feedback from your environment that something's not quite sitting right, or that is quite sitting right. And let's try and not to make decisions with those emotions as well. And I'm talking about excitement and happiness as well, because who here has made a really big decision when they were super excited on going on a night out or something? You're like, actually, I really don't want to do that. I was really excited when I met Clive the other day and he wants to go out, but he's an absolute reckless machine and he's going to get on it. But I've got to focus on my business. I shouldn't have made that decision. So stick to neutral, be emotionally intelligent, allow kids that really safe, nurtured space to express themselves. And also, team, play the Skittles game. Hit me up if you want to know what that is. Over to you, boys.
Thanks, Dale. Brilliant as always, mate. No, a great insight there. Thank you. Sarah, are you there now?
Yeah, I am now. So is that a better signal? Can you hear me?
That's better.
everyone?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Thank you for let me ask this question. I think this is probably something quite close home to me. I mean, I've been with my partner for 39 years. We both come from very strange upbringings. I've always worked really hard on myself through business development, read lots and lots of books, and I think that's where my mindset's got. He did a little bit, but not as much as I have. Is there anyone out there that has experienced? I mean, he's a lot better than what he was when we were younger, but he still finds it very, very difficult to show his emotions. Not so much to me, he's fine with me, but my kids, my daughter he's fine with, but my son, I find that he really struggles with him for whatever reason. I think that has a lot to do with when he was growing up. So I just wondered if there are coaches out there or anybody that's done a lot of mindset with people who are, from backgrounds where they've experienced violence in their backgrounds, where their father has been. I mean, this was one of the things he said to my son once. I don't know how to be a dad. I've never been shown. And I just wondered if there's something out there that may be able to help him. I mean, he's much better than what he ever used to be. And, he talks much more now about things. Like, for instance, when we were younger, if we had an argument, he would just bottle things up and not speak for days and days. Whereas now, he will get angry, but he'll come back to me and he'll talk about it. You know what I mean? And get it off his chest. Whereas he never used to do that, and I think that's a good thing. So my question is, can people change if they're not, not having as much mindset and delivery like I am, like reading books and stuff like that? And I think he really does want to change, because I've even spoken to him about doing, is it anger? I think it's called anger, like hypnosis. He's been to counselling, so it's not like he doesn't want to change. But I think whatever happens from the age of 0 to 10 has had a massive influence on him. So that's my question to people out there.
That's probably one for you.
Me?
Yeah. Well, you're exactly the epitome. Like you didn't have a father figure to learn to be a dad off, did you? So the challenge here, I would say, Sarah.
Short answer, yes.
Yeah, do you know? If I look at me, but it's recognizing you've got there's an issue, isn't it? I think I'd already
come to that realization.
Well, I think it goes back to, I said this earlier, didn't I? Sell them what they want, give them what they need. And I went into the world of personal development to find a better way of running my businesses, because I was struggling with that. So I was right. Okay, I need some help on me to manage my businesses better. I didn't know I needed help, emotional help in my relationship. I didn't know I had a deficit when it comes to showing emotion and showing love. I didn't know any of those things, and I wasn't looking for that. I was not interested in that. But by looking for help within the business, I found all of that stuff, and I got actually what I needed, which was to deal with some of those issues. So it was thrown on me without wanting it, but by doing some of the work, I realized that I had a problem and worked through it. There's got to be coaches that are better
A
qualified.
person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So what you can't do in that instance, and I've not been through this, but what you can't do is force somebody to do something that they don't want to do, because they will never.
Well, it sounds like, who was that? Was that Sarah?
Yeah.
It sounds like Sarah said that he's actually quite open to the idea.
Yeah.
But I honestly think he can. You know, I think anyone, like I said, for me, it's not comfortable still now for me to hug Ben. I make myself do it because I know it needs to happen. It's not a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
It's become more natural, but it definitely wasn't natural whatsoever. But I just, I identified that it needed to happen.
But this is the thing, you identified.
I identified it, yeah.
I was going to say, because I think it's sort of come to realization with a lot of things, because my son was talking to my daughter. He's just gone on holiday, and he is like me. We are exactly the same person in lots of ways, but he's also got quite a lot of things with his dad. But he said to my daughter, I mean, he's brilliant with my daughter. He's got 2 grandchildren who he never used to be, but since we've had our grandchildren, he's really he shows so much love to them. So I know he can do it. Does that make sense? So I know. But my son said to my daughter before he went on holiday, you know what, I don't really like my dad sometimes, because he said he never rings me, he never gives me a cuddle. And I know that's not, I said this to him. I said, did you know that Lee said this? And he was really upset. And I said to him, I find it so difficult, Sarah. He said, I don't know how I change. And I was just trying to see what type of help there is out there for him. Because like I said, he's willing to change, but he just doesn't know how. And I think he finds it very frustrating, because obviously I'm a bit like Paul. I have had to develop myself because of what I want to achieve in my life. So I've had to change my mindset. I have been quite lucky in the fact that I lived with my grandparents from the age of 14, and they did show me so much love. You know what I mean? I really did get that love. I lived in sort of they were old fashioned, but they did love me, and I think that was really good. And his mum does as well, but he had to be the adult in that relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I do see why he is like he is, but I just wondered where to go first, really. Or what you would do if you were in my situation.
Beju broke his thumb. He's flashing so hard.
And so is Croz as well. So let's go Beju, then Croz.
Yeah, no, Sarah, I think the very fact that he's doing some work and he's willing is massive. That's like 90-80% of it, right? And like you say, there's so many different ways of doing it. And like what Paul said is so genius. It's finding what he wants. It might be parenting, it might be anger management, it might be hypnosis. The vehicle is irrelevant. It's that what's the thing that he wants, and then through that you'll get the insight. I'm happy to have a chat offline. I'm not the person. I'm definitely not the person to help. I'm happy to have a chat to direct you to different places. But Sarah, really recognise the fact that he's willing. Normal everyday conversations. The very fact that he comes to you and talk about that is a growth. Yes, he might need some professional intervention, but is a long way there. It's a long way there to making sure that he does it. And like you say, we also got to be compassionate. I grew up like Matt. I grew up in a world. My dad never hugged me, but I knew he loved me in his own way. Little smile, little this, little handshake, all the rest of it. So, and you're right. There's a lot of things that happen between 0 and 10 years that it's very difficult to undo. But the very fact, emotional intelligence is being aware. He's aware. So the very fact that he's aware is great. So there's so many different things that you can do. But to be here and say, so go there, go this course or that course may not be appropriate because we don't know the context of everything. But if you want to drop me a line, I'm happy to have a quick chat with you. I'm definitely not the person, but I'm here to chat with you and see what's available. All right. Thanks,
awesome
Sarah.
stuff.
Great
Thanks,
one.
Beju. Right, Croz. We'll come to Croz. Come on, Croz. I bet Croz been sitting there. He's gonna go. Don't worry, everything's gonna be all right.
No, but good. What a great room. But the thing is, one of the main things that's come about today is that when we go down the road of self-development, we start sort of looking for everything and doing everything and sort of getting conflicting ideas and this, that, and the other. But if you just concentrate on one thing, but before I say this, I just get back to what Sarah was saying about the thing. When the person has now adopted the journey to learn, you said it exactly. You said it still doesn't feel good, but it's getting better, right? everyone thinks that this is a magic pill, a one-stop shop. It's happening. As I say, and I've been doing this every day for almost 30 years, and I still get excited about letting people know how powerful they are. And it all comes back to emotional feelings, right? Everyone thinks that the result creates the feeling. It doesn't. Get that out of your mind. The feeling creates the result. Thought, feeling, emotion, result. Okay? And every single situation, you'll work it back to that, right? When you're in a good mood, good things happen. When you're in a bad mood, bad things happen. But the main thing that you've got to do is you've got to latch on to the fact that you want the answers. Now, the simplest thing to say is there is so little to know, but so much written. You know, you could cover the entire planet with books 10 feet high with what's been written about self-development. But when you sort of take each book and dissect it, you'll find that it's saying the same thing. So all you can hope to do is latch on to someone that's got the information that is in a format that you understand and accept. Because once you do that and you understand, I now read books because I say stick to one book until you're getting results, until, you know, hugging someone and saying, oh, this feels funny, hugging someone, oh, feels a bit better, hugging someone, oh, hang on, I quite enjoy hugging, boom, that's it. That's the journey, right? But when you actually latch onto it, follow the journey through, and you will find that things start changing. I've read The Science of Getting Rich, I should think, in excess of 300 times. I will read it sometime again next week. And every time I read it, something new jumps out. Now, that's not because I didn't read it correctly in the first place. It means that my awareness has changed and I can find different things in the same thing. So there's nothing new. All you've got to do is you've got to latch on to one thing, take the journey, and then once you become aware, you can look at things and then you can actually make them, put them in place. You say, well, that's it. That's a different way of saying it. Because all there is different ways of saying the same thing. And I say to people, it's what you forget will help you. What you forget will make you successful, because we've all start the same. We all start with the same, unless there's sort of some medical condition, but we all start with the same program, which is for us to be a success. And by the time we're 18, we sort of generally buggered it right up. So what you've got to do is you've got to undo what you've learned. And the thing is that there's no instant pill. After 30 years, if there was, I'd know about it and I'd be selling them, right? There ain't no pill. You've got to say, I want my life to change. I can only say that at 73 years old, I sit here every day and I just feel so good about, what's going on in the world, but I just feel so good because I feel in control. And that's got nothing to do with anything else other than me taking back the power and having the ability to control my thoughts. And once you can control your thoughts, you can control your emotions. And once you control your emotions, you control everything. How's that?
Cool.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
Does anybody feel like when Cross talks is like a warm bath? You know when you get in a warm bath after a cold day, like, oh, that's lovely. It's like, yeah, it's going to be all right.
With candles.
Just relax and let it come to you. Do nothing.
I love it. This is Paul's bedtime routine.
With candles and bath oil. I tell you what, Ken Halligan's bath oils, so they're good.
Can Cross send out a revised edition of that book just on the most pertinent points, please, because I'm still in the Tintin book. You said stick to one, and I'm Tintin in the Black Knight. But I just wanted to say one thing that's quite useful that I find. The Stoic sort of hold back intimacy thing is obviously it's an inherent a learning, but to fake it till you make it sounds very cliched and silly, but it takes the pressure off that you either sit down with your grandson and just say, look, tell me how your world works, because I haven't got a clue, and why don't we have a hug once a day, or and it might start off being a little uncomfortable, but you soon find that the guy that's come from the more painful history starts to love himself in that process, and that's the whole journey is what Cross was saying there is like the higher learning version with all the dictionaries and so profound. I have to kind of tape that and listen to it 5 or 6 times. But for me, 1 or 2 little incremental steps, faking it till you make it, and also not being scared to go in and try and find some emotion and throw it out there and see how it feels. Because sometimes it's a discomfort for us to use words like love and you mean a lot to me. And
absolutely.
You guys mean a lot.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Lovely. Right, we are going to, as we've only got 10 minutes left of the show. What a varied conversation, as per usual. I kind of guessed that this was going to happen, though. You put the word mindset in the.
I think it was the word emotion actually that's took off most of the conversation.
When was the last time you cried?
Oh God, I can't remember.
When was the last time you cried?
I know the next time he's going to cry. About 6 o'clock next Thursday.
Yeah, that is true for sure. At 11 p.m. when I'm still in the room trying to sort shit out.
Yeah. Right. Well, talking about next Thursday, next Friday, next Saturday, next Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get excited because next week it's only EMC, the UK's biggest entrepreneurs marketing conference, and the crowd goes wild. I don't know why I'm doing that. I've got sound effects.
Got Ryan as security.
It's generally a massive room, isn't it?
It's
where it is a massive room.
Haven't you set him off in his nightmares again?
Yeah.
How wide's the stage?
Do
you know?
I don't know. No, I'm not sure. It'll be fairly.
He's like, I've got too many numbers going on my head. I don't want to think about
15 meters or something across there.
Yeah, at least it'll be at least that, I think. Yeah, to fill it. And
It is huge. I'm very excited. I've said this many a time that I actually went to the first ever EMC and I sat there with my sort of business partner at the time, and I sat in the audience for most of it. I went down to sort of like for work purposes, but I ended up just sitting there. Like, my God, this content's really good. Did Tom Breeze speak last time?
Yeah, Tom spoke last time. Yeah,
I walked in halfway through his talk. I was like, oh,
there's
my
a couple of
God.
speakers that were there last year, but they'll all be talking about the most current stuff. So
Yeah.
there'll be new presentations. But mate, this is the thing. I sat in the room for a lot of it.
Yeah.
I guarantee, for those of you guys that are VIPs, I'll be sitting there at one point on the tables watching some of the. I've got a list of the ones I definitely want to watch.
Of course, mine's at the top, man.
Well, you're on the whole. You're pretty much on the whole time, Pete. Bless you. You're going to be sweating by the end of it.
I don't know what I'm looking forward to most. Actually, just seeing Pete or seeing Pete hobble around the stage.
He gets his cast off the day before.
I know. I think he should still take the moon boot because you know what he's gonna be like. He's gonna forget and he's just gonna start running around the room high-fiving.
No, he's going to jump off the stage. That's what he'll do. He'll jump off. He'll do a jump off to go and high-five the crowd, and then it'll break again or something.
No, we won't allow that to happen because we'll put Ryan when Ryan's not on close protection for Ashley outside of throne duties. Maybe that he could piggyback Pete. How do you feel about that, Ryan? If you could just give a flash to them, are you happy to piggyback Pete? Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Just on a logistical point of view, and it's quite important we say some stuff to you quickly, especially for those of you that have purchased your tickets via the Winners Club link, and also if you're coming, because we've got a Winners Club lounge, which Matt's kindly given us the facilities to do that. We've got a great little spot. We're basically on a balcony.
We're like the
overlooking the main stage.
It's very cool.
So it's quite cool.
It's like an atrium.
The position, we're in a gallery basically overlooking the main stage. It's very cool. But in order to get access to that lounge, you're going to have a Winners Club lanyard that's got the Winners Club logo. Here's the catch: you would only be on the list for that Winners Club lanyard if you purchased your ticket via the Winners Club link that we've been giving out. Now, some of you would have already purchased tickets before we partnered with Matt, or maybe you've just gone through to EMC organically and not done it via the Winners Club link. So if you are listening to this, you're in the audience or on stage and you're one of those people and you think you may not have purchased your ticket via the Winners Club link, and Matt is also going to do a mail shot out to people to explain this as well, then do reach out and let us know, because we need to make sure you've got the right lanyard. Otherwise, if your name's not down, you're not coming in. It's one of those situations.
Yeah, for example, like Alison Edgar definitely purchased before we were doing this thing. Jennifer Louise obviously purchased last year at last year's event. But you guys, I knew about you guys, so I've tagged you. But there might be some people that are listening now or in these rooms that I don't know about, the Winners Club's community.
And there's 5 tickets left.
Well, we're actually sold out, but what I did was I put 5 aside for Winners Club. Yeah, so if there's anyone that is still wanting a ticket, you can't go to the main site, but you can go to the Winners Club, the Winners Club
which
link,
is
which is in the app.
emc2021.com/TWC.
Yeah, or download the Winners Club app from the App Store. Click on
it's
Discount Club, and there's a link in there to go through, and you can go down to that. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, why haven't you got one? But you can still get them. There's only 5 left. You hear that? 5.
This
tickets.
is by far the best conference I've ever been to. And I went to the first one and I ended up being an attendee almost accidentally. It was fantastic. 3 days of non-stop, tangible, actionable, usable content. No BS, no selling, no running to the back of the room with your credit card, etc. You can sit down and be comfortable in the knowledge that all you are there to do is absorb information and then go and deploy it and action it. And last year, as I say, I saw Tom Breeze talk, some of the other talks. That, who did the
James Burt?
James Burt's there this year.
He's not. Double speaker. He's not, is he? Who did I see last year? The branding lady, Sammy
Blindell's actually there again.
Oh, some of her concepts on branding, I was like, I know a lot about branding. I was like, that's genius.
Yeah, she's really good. So she's run a company called How to Build a Brand for, I think, like 15 years.
That's what they say on the tin, like Ron Seal.
Yeah.
And
Does she still live on like a mad houseboat?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
She's coming again, because she was just so good last time.
She was amazing.
But I think she actually connected with Pete. Pete started doing some work with her after.
Other than that, she had a great time though.
I said to Matt that I was there I paid to go last year. You know, it was an amazing event. I met James at that event.
Unfortunate.
I think for me, I did learn a lot. But I tell you what, Matt, as I've said to you, I've met some amazing people. Jennifer Louise, I met there. I met Sammy Blindell, who I worked with. I met Ken Pointer. You know, Ken and I have become. I've got a meeting with him in 5 minutes. He's one of my best mates, and that's all down to you, Matt. So it is an opportunity to people to learn, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be even deeper in terms of connections.
Well, it's really interesting because I can't wait. I think it was you, Pete, earlier that mentioned about like how COVID's going to affect it. I mean, it's going to be. Because my biggest fear was that it's never going to go back to normal with people just being weird around each other, you know. But it's going to be good to just get around people again. I'm actually, luckily, I've got a bit of a warm-up gig. So I'm speaking, I've been asked to speak at Agent Rainmaker's event this
that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think there's like 300-400 people there, I think, or something. But it's Sally Lawson, who's the owner of Agent Rainmaker. She's actually one of the speakers at EMC.
Oh, that's right.
Because she's incredible what she's doing with her community. So she's actually talking about community, building a community and a tribe of Raven fans.
She's mainly property.
Yeah, so letting agents specifically.
That's
so
right,
she's niche to them, but she's like she basically owns that niche now. You know, she's like the queen of it. And I'm going down to speak. I'm going down to speak at their event on Sunday morning, and that would be the first time I've spoke in front of people since the last EMC. Because you got to remember, the last EMC we went into a lockdown. Like the COVID hit like the week after. We were so lucky to do it.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm going to be well nervous because the first time I've actually spoke. But not only that, just being around that many people at one time, it's going to be such a surreal.
It's going to be quite overwhelming, isn't it, for people?
Yeah,
Ashley's bringing his auntie for moral support.
I've got Ryan. I've got Ryan Nurse.
Yeah.
Ryan Nurse is there for protection. Double speaker.
Mental health check. Your ego doesn't get to your head, because I think that's going to be one of your challenges. It's going to be your ego. Definitely same for Paul, because he's already gone right up himself since he's given. Oh, did you hear my bulletproof business? Everyone thinks I'm brilliant. Shut up, Paul. So we've got Ryan there protecting the egos. Obviously, Ryan's actually very busy now, isn't he? Because he's now piggybacking Pete around the room as well. So he's got Ryan. You've got a full-on weekend coming up, mate.
Can you come in your security outfit as well, please?
So just a couple of quick points about Breakfast with Winners.
So he keeps making it serious.
No,
again.
because we're running out of time. We've got 5 minutes, but this is important. We're doing Breakfast with Winners, this show, live from the Winners Club Lounge every morning. So we're doing it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. We'll probably have to do the Bulletproof Business Room live from there as well on Thursday.
Oh, you can see it happen live
Thursday PM.
Yeah, we
for
will.
us, but we'll have to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of how logistics have worked out, if you want to attend Breakfast with Winners on the Friday morning, the first morning of the event, obviously, if you're staying in the hotel or you're staying in Brighton, you'll be around to be in there for Saturday and Sunday show. But if you want to be there on the Friday morning, again, message me directly, because we're going to have to work out logistics of how you get access, because you'll have to get into the venue before the venue actually opens, if that makes sense. And we have to work out a way, which we've got a way of doing that, but we'll need to coordinate the logistics with you to make sure you can get into the room to actually be there live.
Don't want to sound too big time, but we've got our own staircase, so kind of a big deal.
So
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, anyone in the Winners Club.
So yeah, if you're coming down Thursday night and you're staying in the hotel, if you're getting there really super early to be part of Breakfast with Winners, and feel free, you can come into the Breakfast with Winners part at any point. Turn up at 8 o'clock.
Brilliant, yeah. Come in, pop in.
Just as soon as registration opens at
8 o'clock on the Friday morning.
Yeah, so so you can't register to get your lanyards until 8 o'clock on the Friday morning. So you can see the problem if you want to be there at 6:30 or at 7 o'clock.
So
on Friday
what I'll do is I'll send out some much clearer instructions in a mailing to you guys.
Thank God.
No, but after me and Paul speak, because what I think would be an idea is if some of them that can actually register the night before. And what I'll do is I'll once I've spoke to my team, we'll arrange a time from, say, for instance, 6 p.m. You can actually between 6 and 7 come and register, because then you can relax, and you can get up, you've got your lanyard, you can go in at 6:30 to join Breakfast with Winners. But we'll come up with this and put it in an email,
We'll sort out some
pre-release VIP status.
And for those of you that are there, that are regular members of the community, we're going to be getting you involved in the show. We've got some ideas. We've got a wireless microphone to move around the room instead of flash your mics.
Yeah,
put your hand up, raise your hand, or flash a light, or do something. And we're going to try and bring all of that live. And for those of you that aren't there that still want to join, you can. Breakfast with Winners will be on Clubhouse like normal, just with a much larger studio audience and a lot more people.
And then I think your plan is to also randomly, like maybe on the lunch or whatever, actually pull some of the speakers. And
so that's what we're planning to do. So when you have your lunch, you're welcome to come and sit in the Winners Club Lounge as well. And at that point, we're going to try and grab some of the keynote speakers as they come off stage and get them to come in and do a bit more of a deep dive interview in the lunch hours. And there's some cool people.
And if Matt is calm and chilled, we'll pull him up in.
Oh mate, you got no chance.
We want you for 10 minutes on 10 minutes Friday morning to feel your emotions and see what's going on.
7:45.
God,
10 minutes Friday morning.
Yeah, we've got some amazing.
As soon as it starts, because as soon as it starts, I'll be all right. I'll be a lot better anyway. As soon as everyone's in, and I know that we've done it, because selling an event out when you're charging for tickets is a hard enough anyway. It's an achievement in itself, but then making sure that it all starts and runs smoothly is another thing, and everyone's happy. That's the most important thing, because you've got to remember the whole goal of this is so that everyone that's coming comes back next year.
Last time round, every single person I spoke to when I left on that Friday afternoon, I went round at lunch. I was like, how's it been? I spoke to loads of people. I've never been to an event where categorically, unilaterally, everyone loved it, and I did not hear anything but praise.
Well, because that's the goal, it puts a lot more pressure on. Like normally the events I come from is just to get them in the room. That's it. Let's get them in the room, and how many people we can get in there. But this is once they're in there, that's the start for us. Then we've got our job now is to how do we now get these guys to come back?
Who are some of the speakers you got? So if there's anyone who's sitting there who hasn't got their ticket yet, you've got the opportunity. There's only 5 left, and this is not like a BS like FOMO tactic. There is literally only 5 because it's already sold out.
Sold out yesterday. I've mailed, for those of you guys that are on my list, you'll know I mailed out that we're sold out. So we sold out yesterday, but I did put, because I knew I was coming in, I put 5 aside for you guys. And you can grab them if you go to
EMC2021.com/TWC.
Or just go into the app.
Or go into the app down the bottom of the app's
right.
the easiest for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we got Stephen Bartlett. Obviously, he's just been announced as the youngest dragon on Dragon's Den.
I'd love to get him on Breakfast with Winners.
Definitely try and grab him if we can. And we got obviously James Burton, the Winners Club.
Hey,
So actually, if you want to see the tables turned, and Matt's going to become the interviewer. And we're going to be sitting on stage being grilled by Matt, asking what we're doing with Clubhouse and why we're doing it.
Well, so what I might do, I don't know how to do this without sort of giving you guys a heads up, because I'd like it to be more hot seat. If I could do it in the app somehow without you guys seeing it, I'd love to get some questions that people want to ask you guys, like on the stage though.
Well, why don't you just go and put something in the app
and get them to message
and then get them to message me? Yeah,
there's
that's
a message
exactly what I'm going to do.
in the app, so people can message you directly.
That's exactly
in the
what
app.
I'm going to do. I'll put it in there later and then see the.
And we promise we won't look.
Yeah, you've probably got access to the inbox. But yeah, loads of other guys. I mean, the guys that I'm really looking forward to speaking about.
Is anyone speaking twice, Matt?
No. Oh yeah, no, I am. I am. And James.
Oh,
And James,
come on now.
James, James is speaking
Speaking
twice.
of the game, you say, but you got some like legit gangsters of their craft. haven't you?
Yeah.
Spencer Lodge is flown in today.
Spencer Lodge is like one of the most successful guys I've ever met in real life. Me and him have become really close. He started working with us. We did some work for him about three or 4 years ago, just when I started Einstein. And then me and him we just hit it off. So we end up being really good friends. Like I look at him as like, he's like one of my best mates. We've been skiing together, like just me and him, just randomly decide to go skiing. He's flown me out to Dubai to do some stuff with his massive company out there. I mean, he's really successful guy, like legit massive company that he's got.
What does he actually do for those who don't know? Like
So that company's it's called Benapol, and but effectively what it does is it sells insurance policies to expats that are living abroad all over the place. Right. So it's basically that, but on a massive sort of corporate global level. So he's coming over. Tom Breeze is just, I always want to watch Tom's presentations because it changes every time I see him. He's talking about the new nuances of YouTube ads. This guy spends 10 million a month on it on YouTube. It's mental. 10 million.
What he's up to now?
Yeah.
Wow.
£10 million a month he spends for his clients.
He's great. He's such a nice guy.
And he's just such a lovely, beautiful guy.
Yeah.
He's like the best looking guy you'll ever meet. When you meet him, you're like, you're handsome. So there's a couple of guys you meet. It's like when you meet Tom Breeze, honestly, you see him personally, like, God, he's handsome. He's just a handsome guy. And he
you think the same about Ashley Shipman. You have to look down to see the handsomeness of Ashley, but it's there.
And then another one I'm really looking forward to. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Ed Smith. A lot of you'll know his name because he's big on Clubhouse, but he's coming on to talk about TikTok ads for me because he's smashing it with TikTok ads for a lot of his clients. And I said, look, I need someone to talk about this because we've just started looking in it for our agency, but he's actually got it working at a decent level. So he's going to be talking about it. So I'm looking forward to that presentation. Rob Moore's always good. And all
John
of the speakers,
Pemberthy?
all of the speakers. Oh yeah, John Pemberthy.
He was great last time.
Yeah, John Pemberthy's awesome. Yeah, all about webinars. He's just a master about webinars.
What's her name? Google. Laura Moxon.
Laura Moxon's back on Google
fantastic.
Ads. Yeah, Google Ads.
She's one of their like top.
Danita's there as well, isn't she?
Danita's talking about LinkedIn. So she's coming on about LinkedIn.
Some amazing people, basically. So if you want to grab one of the final 5 tickets, EMC2021.com/TWC, or as we said, go and get the Winners Club companion app, and you can go bottom right-hand corner. There's something that says Discount Club, and we literally made that tab for Matty Wilson.
Well, yeah, when you get to the order form, if you put in Winners Club,
all one word.
All one word. Winners Club, you'll get your 20%.
It?
It's not case sensitive, no. So you'll get your
Caps lock.
20% discount.
Is it caps lock? So I have to use caps lock.
Yeah.
Sounds like your nan. Sounds like your nan.
You nearly made a whole show without me having to rinse you.
Yeah. Sally Lawson as well. I'm looking forward to.
She's great, isn't she?
Sally Lawson, I'm definitely looking forward to speaking. I'm actually looking forward to.
Who are you most looking forward to?
Well, I'll probably actually, now you've mentioned it, probably Danita, because
I was actually looking for the Winners Club.
Who
are you looking forward to most, Matt?
I want to see how Danita. I want to see how Dee does. She's been asking me.
She really knows her stuff on LinkedIn.
Well, she does, but yeah, I just want to see how she does. I said, you better blow them away. You better do a good job.
She's listening right now.
Is she?
She is.
Is she on?
She's writing on the.
Is she on there?
She is. She's on the screen. Yeah,
but she's not in the room. She's not in the room, but she's writing on the screen.
Oh, what?
She's watching the live.
Oh, she's watching live.
She's watching on Facebook.
Okay, guys. Wow, what a morning.
Yeah, brilliant, guys.
Danita's just put a laughing face. She is here.
She is here. Yeah. So if you want any more information, by the way, if you have bought your ticket before, if you haven't done it via the Winners Club, just message me or Ash or Paul, and we'll.
I'll tell you what, don't bother with the other two because they won't reply. Do me, send me a message, and I'll make sure the message gets to the right place. So if two things, if you want a Winners Club lanyard and you're not quite sure if you're on the Winners Club list, message me. And if you want to attend the Friday morning breakfast with winners because you're already in Brighton or you're staying in the hotel, again, message me and we'll work out the logistics and make sure you can get access and your name's down on the list.
Mods and speakers, actually, if you are coming to EMC, give us a flash of your mic just so we can see how many people are coming down. Oh, cool. Okay. Wicked.
Here's a thing as well, because it's very annoying. For those of you that have been in the studio experience, you'll recognize this, but equally, it will be annoying if you're in the room. If you are coming to breakfast with winners, please can you bring an old-fashioned pair of corded headphones to plug into your phone, because basically what you have to do is you have to come into Clubhouse, so you're present on the screen, but then you'll be in the room and you'll leave Clubhouse muted. But when you do that, you can't actually, if you don't have the headphones in, as you know, you can't mute the noise that comes out of Clubhouse, and it will give us unbelievable feedback. And most of the time, if you've ever heard the echo that comes through the studio and you hear the echo, it's because somebody's got their volume up on their phone in the studio. Mainly Ashley Shipman.
I thought you weren't going to blame me. I thought you were just going to say someone.
Yeah. So a set of old-fashioned corded headphones would probably work. Actually, you know what?
It might be worth. I was going to say, it might be worth just getting a couple of
ones.
The old ones and then the new iPhone ones as well, just to be sure, because that could be a nightmare.
Yeah, because that will
But bring them.
So we're really looking forward to seeing you next week. You're going to have to do quite a lot of hard work to be a welcome guest.
Talk about barriers to entry. Yeah.
When you tick all
but it'll be
those
well
boxes.
worth it. You'll get to see the king himself in person. In his full glory.
Long live
on his throne.
Very excited. Who's by the way, out of all the monster speakers who just flashed in, who is going to be in Brighton the night before? So who's coming down because you've got a long way to travel or whatever? So you could be the night before. Yeah, Rihanna, Ryan, Alison, Marvin. Okay, there's quite a few. Yeah, okay, cool. We'll make sure we sort out the pre-registration and registration for the Uber VIP. Super early.
Remember, I'll reach out to Paul.
Message me.
And if he doesn't reply, just give him some question marks straight off the back.
Yeah, he loves that. Did you know you've got like?
I hate that.
Do you know within the app you've got like the chats? You've also got requests. Did you know that? So I didn't think anyone would back channel me, but then I've just found like thousands of messages.
Yeah, I've got all the requests. Yeah,
you got them as well.
Yeah. Basically, if nobody's messaged you before, they go into a request.
Oh, yeah.
No, if you don't follow them.
No, that is my pet hate. Somebody that sends me a message and then within minutes sends you a question mark.
Yeah.
Oh, that is what emotionally triggers me.
I do that most mornings when I'm waiting for a response.
And that's why it emotionally triggers him. Right, we're out of here. Thanks, guys. Cheers for it as always. Hope you've enjoyed this morning. Make sure you click onto the Green Monopoly House at the top of the screen right now to be informed of more fantastic Winners Club rooms that are coming up. And make sure if you have enjoyed this conversation, you'd like to listen to it again.
Lucien's show's not on today, is it?
It's not. Lucien, yeah. So we've had a couple of people asking. Lucien's coaching show is no longer here. Wah, wah, wah.
She has her clients.
Yeah, she's opened up an official fancy membership, which looks amazing, by the way. My wife's part of it. My wife's joined up.
Yes, so she can't physically do it.
So she can't do it. Yep. So the coaching sessions, unfortunately, on a Friday with Lucien are no more. So you guys we can have the afternoon off. You can have Friday afternoons off, guys. How do you feel about that? It's going to be nice, isn't it?
Basically, she came into the Winners Club, rinsed us for our audience, put everyone into our membership, and now she's gone. See you later.
She used and abused us, and we knowingly allowed it to happen.
Only joking, Lucien, if you're out there.
She's
all said in jest.
Yeah,
No, it's just because she can't deliver that content.
No, I get it. Yeah,
she can't deliver that content because it's part of her membership.
Part of the membership. Yep, awesome. So, you guys, everyone listen to the Winners Club. You can have Friday afternoon off. That's it. Your duties for TWC are done for today until tomorrow morning. So, what's everyone going to do with their afternoon now?
Yeah.
Who knows? All right, guys.
I've got to whip you two into shape.
Good luck with that.
Chat about a chat. And then
good luck with
that. We have a meeting after the meeting now.
I've got to go golf today.
Do you play golf?
No, I don't. This is the problem. I own a set of golf clubs.
Right.
I've not played golf in about 4 years. No, I look like Jordan Spieth when I go out and play golf. Like, I've got all the
giving it loads.
Yeah,
I bet you have. Long pull-up socks.
Yeah, I've got all the clothes, everything. I look really good. So, I've not played golf in about 4 years, and I'd agreed where I get my hair cut. They're doing a charity golf day on Sunday, and
You got sold.
reluctantly, I agreed to go with a group of guys that I'm friends with, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And the date's been slowly approaching. I'm like, I should really get to the driving range to practice because this is going to be really
this is going
to be really embarrassing. So I've got to go to the driving range today and tomorrow. I must do it. I've been meaning to go all week. I've been procrastinating, find the way not to do it. But the golf clubs are in the back of the car, and I'm going to go to the driving range and attempt to do something before Sunday because it will be really embarrassing.
So that's what you're going to do. What have you got on for the rest of the day, mate Wilson? Organising EMC, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit of that, and then I've got to record some videos later this afternoon.
Wicked. What are you doing?
Your video was great. Sorry, your video made me really chuckle. You done an EMC ad. I think it was an EMC ad.
Where you get some of his boxes.
Where you get up in your boxes.
Yeah.
Mate, that was brilliant.
I've not seen that one.
I forgot. I meant to say to you. I meant to send you a message as soon as I watched it. Going, well done for that video. That's brilliant. That was really good. Who come up with that idea? You.
I come up with the idea. Yeah, because I needed to sort of poo-poo like virtual events. So I wanted to paint the picture.
Have you not seen it, James?
No.
Where can I see it? He's got his kids punching him in the head. He's got his missus. He's got his missus going, get here, and he's like.
So I was basically on Zoom, and it's like I'm watching a virtual thing where I've got my kids jarring me.
I've not seen this.
Emily calling me to help her with something, and then I get up and walk out to help Emily. I'm in my boxers, with a shirt, and then they walk off and they're in their boxers because people were getting caught in their boxers, weren't they?
And
it was brilliant.
And it's like, networking with real people in the room, and you look at your dog,
and then I look at my dog. Yeah, just little things like that.
Brilliant. I'll have to have a look.
It was really good. It's worth a watch.
And the internet connection, it was gold. It was gold.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys, have a fantastic day. See you back here
have a
tomorrow
good day and a
morning
good weekend, guys.
For Breakfast with Winners, the weekend edition. Ta-da.